Looks like it's heading for a draw. Maguire down the line. Noah. Oh! Ryan Hall! Ryan Hall! Ryan Hall scores for Leeds and wins them the league leaders' shield.
If sport is theatre, last Friday night's Super League action was box office brilliance. When the night mist in Huddersfield settled on that patch of grass Ryan Hall touched down on, one of the sport's most memorable nights was complete. But the drama will not end there. Tomorrow night, the league leaders Leeds host the reigning champion St Helens. Tonight, Wigan hunt a third consecutive grand final appearance against the Huddersfield Giants, who chase their first ever. And the aim is, of course, a grand final appearance on October 10th at Old Trafford, 80 minutes from the trophy and the glory of lifting that trophy. Now, both teams in action here tonight suffered disappointment in round 30. The Wigan Warriors saw their chance of lifting the league leader shield snatched away with that late Ryan Hall try. And for the Huddersfield Giants, a chance of a home semi-final, and that may be very important, more of that later, went away when Ryan Hall caught Danny Maguire's kick and went over. Phil Clark joins me here to preview this game. Players arriving at the ground. Danny Brough will have a huge part to play, as will Liam Farrell, named in the dream team during the week. The question I have for you, Phil Clark, as I said, both sides had disappointment. You have a feeling for the Wigan Warriors and Sean Wayne, it was somewhat mild. For the Huddersfield Giants and Paul Anderson, their coach, the disappointment would have been far more acute.
I agree with you. In fact, I would say now that the Huddersfield Giants have a chronic complaint, and that's an inability to win the games when it really matters. Okay, last week wasn't sudden death, tonight is, and it's a question about whether they can recover from that.
Ryan Hall try, of course, was at the end of 7 minutes in which they led and then saw that lead disappear. Looked like it was going to be a draw, and then with Hall's try, you could see the faces drop, you could see the crowd drop, and of course Leeds did what a champion side do.
Well, it was a cruel moment. The Giants conceded 4 penalties inside the last 10 minutes of the match, and ultimately that led to a Leeds win. I just looked at the Huddersfield players when the final hooter sounded. They looked shattered to me, they looked broken, and I'm not convinced when they watched the opposition fans celebrate the way they did, that within the space of a week, Huddersfield are good enough, strong enough and mentally tough enough to recover and come and win here.
Well, let's address that mental toughness. Are the Huddersfield Giants chokers? And I say this about a side that have finished first, third and third in the 3 seasons under Paul Anderson. Before that, 5th, 4th and 7th. So they are one of the better sides in Super League, Phil. But when it comes to big games, you've gone back and had a look at the games that matter. The knockout games over the last 5 seasons, 6 seasons, they come up short.
They're a great side. They're a consistent side. They win a lot of Super League games, but they've failed when the really pressure's on them. Let's take a look over the last 6 years. The Challenge Cup games on the left, playoff matches on the right-hand side. Don't forget this year against Huddersfield. That was a massive upset when the Rhinos won 48 points to 16. On a couple of occasions over here against Warrington in 2013 and St Helens back in 2010, they were within 80 minutes of getting to a grand final. And the other thing I'd like to point, Brian, in those matches, they scored 22 points. They could get across the try line, but they couldn't defend well enough. 2013 is a very important year as well. That's the year they finished first, won the league leader shield and won more games in the 27 rounds than any other team in Super League. But as you see here, when it comes to the big games against the Warrington Wolves, they came up short. They have played a big game here in the playoffs last year. The DW Stadium came up well short, Phil. They weren't even able to compete with Wigan. 12 months ago, they played against Wigan in the playoffs, admittedly not a sudden death one, and were blown away. Do you know what? In the first 20 minutes, the game was quite tight on the scoreboard, 2-0 in favour of Wigan. But the Warriors scored back-to-back tries on 2 occasions and led 24-0 when we got to the break. When you watch the game again this week, Wigan's dominance in this match, Brian, was evident in that opening quarter. Sean O'Loughlin put an amazing tackle on Larn Patrick that stopped him dead in his tracks. And then when Wigan had the ball, they made sure they spent most of it in their opponent's half. This was one attack that they did from deep within their own. But they had 5 times the possession inside their opponent's half than the Giants. And by the time we got to half-time, here's the 4th try they scored through Liam Farrell. A brilliant one to make it 24-0. The game was effectively over. Huddersfield, in my opinion, couldn't play fast enough, couldn't play hard enough, and certainly can't do that for long enough to beat Wigan. And the way that they lost last week makes me really fear for their hopes tonight.
Of course, after that defeat, they fell out of the playoffs at home after losing 18 points to 16 against the Catalan Dragons. We don't expect a scoreline similar to that, but people are predicting a result similar to that. The Wigan Warriors favourites going into this game. What have you seen in that game and seen replicated by the Giants this year that makes you worry for their prospects?
Well, I don't think that they can. When the game's played at the fastest pace, they can't match Wigan, in my opinion. I may be proved wrong tonight. Got a fascinating contest. Probably the best hope of competing with Wigan maybe comes to the kicking part of the game. Both of these sides have scored more tries from kicks than any other team in Super League, and Danny Brough is one of the best at it.
OK, I'll put the case of Huddersfield to you and Danny Brough, the best open field kicker in the game.
Well, perhaps at gaining ground, and we see 2 tries he sets up here for the Huddersfield side this year. This is a great one against Leeds to the corner. But I'm not so sure he is the best kicker. You know what, he's forced more goal line dropouts than any other team. He's actually kicked the ball a lot more this season than last. But I think the best attacking player on the field tonight is playing for Wigan. And it's not Matthew Smith who makes most of their kicks. It's the younger player, George Williams. George Williams has been fantastic when he's been given the ball and has to kick it this year. We get to see him here with his ball in hand.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. He can't kick the ball. Why doesn't he do more of it then, Phil?
Well, it seems at the moment that Smith gets more of the kicks, both to gain ground and to attack. But when George Williams given the ball, here, look, to draw up the defenders, to commit them to a running play, and then his accuracy to put the kick behind the line for players like George Burgess has been undefendable, really. Teams can't cope with that. Such is the quality of the kicks it puts in. It may be tight. I don't think it will, because I think that Wigan will be too strong for them. When they turn up the pace, turn up the heat, I'm not convinced that Huddersfield can live with this.
I want to talk to you briefly about the changes. Of course, John Bateman comes in for the Wigan Warriors, frees up Joe Burgess, another man named in the dream team during the week, to go back onto his usual wing position. Josh Charnley misses out. But for the Huddersfield Giants, that's where the interesting changes come. Jake Connor comes into the side. He'll play in the centres, freeing up Joe Wardle to go into the pack. And he brings back Earl Crabtree from an injury. But interestingly, brings back Chris Bailey as well, saying he's going with experience. Players to miss out, Cruz Leaning, Josh Johnson and Daniel Smith. What do those changes tell you about the mindset of Paul Anderson?
Well, I think he knows he needs men, older men, and he needs giants, both physically and mentally, because to compete with Wigan, the physical way that they play the game, they haven't done it in the past in the playoffs here, and they haven't been ruthless enough to get to a game. He's gone obviously for his more experienced players. He probably needs Chris Bailey to come on and help Luke Robinson out around the middle of the field as the hooker. And I think he knows that Joe Wardle in the forwards gives him that chance. Wigan have done remarkably well when you consider that their 2 first-choice centres, Gelling and Sargentson, aren't playing and probably won't play again this season. So to cope with the loss of 2 of the best strike players, they've done well. And John Bateman, what a brilliant player it is to be able to push out there. One of the best players they've got. OK, of course, the Wigan Warriors beating Castleford Tigers 47 points to 12 last week. 37 of those points, I think 37 of those points coming in the second half, unanswered points. They have obviously got a great defence. If you watched Barry and Terry's big hits during the week, you would have seen 2 of the shots from that game. One from Michael McAlorm and a massive play of the game from Sean O'Loughlin, driving Gadwin Springer back into the in-goal. That's Tuesdays, Barry's and Terry's big hits. Phil Clark's 5 is on Mondays, top tries of the week, and of course Ryan Hall was #1. We have the naughty step on Mondays, anybody in front of the disciplinary, and of course after full time you can always get full match highlights. We do give you the opportunity as well to interact with us in the build-up to a game during a half-time and at full time. Barry is right now manning the social media account at Sky Sports RL, hashtag AskSkyRL. Steve will be there at halftime, and Phil here, of course, will be there at full time. OK, Sean Wayne said he watched the game, the Huddersfield Giants, he said, were deserved winners in the end. In fact, he said he thought it was a sick joke when Steve Blakely, his physio, came and tapped him on the shoulder and told him that Ryan Hall had scored that late try. He is very respectful and very confident going into this game. We'll hear from him first now, and after that, the Giants coach, Paul Anderson.
Sean, you've not lost a game here all year. You're 80 minutes from the grand final. Are you confident getting there?
Terry, to be honest, I have a lot of respect for Huddersfield. They're a good team, they're well coached, and but I do know if we're on form, if we play at our best, we have a good chance of getting there. And but it all comes down to, as you know, who wants it the most. And I've been working on my players this week to make sure that they're mentally in the right place and make sure that we want it more than Huddersfield. And if we do that tonight, we'll give ourselves a good chance.
What's your job during the week to get the players up for this game? Like, do you have to keep a lid on it because they're jumping out of the skin?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, the lads have been ripping in, and I didn't want any injuries, so I've had to calm people down, which is a good sign. My players were hurting from losing the league leaders last week, so they feel like they need to put something right tonight. So, you know, they're in a good place, but I know Huddersfield are as well. You know, it's just 80 minutes of whichever team turns up, and I just hope it's us.
Who's the player for Huddersfield? They've got so many dangerous players, haven't they? Who's the player that you've identified to your team that you need to stop or need to keep an eye on?
They've got a lot. They've got some real talented, you know, Jermaine on the wings, but you know, Danny Brough with his kicking game and his running game, Jamie Ellis running game. they've got some real talent, they've got threats, and so have we. You know, so that's got the makings of a great game, this one. But I think, you know, Danny Brough is the most influential one. He's a player I admire, he's a very, very good player, but, you know, we've got some good players as well.
Paul, first of all, have you got over that tremendous game last week against Leeds?
We talked after the game about we didn't have time to feel sorry for ourselves, and 6 days later we're here and we're ready to go again.
Third year in charge of Huddersfield Giants. You've never finished below third. Can you take that extra step and get to the grand final?
Yeah, hopefully we can. In a couple of hours we'll know about that. But the belief in this group, I spoke after, I think we played Saints early in the year. To achieve, you've got to believe, and that's what the individuals have in themselves, and obviously in the collective as well, in what they're trying to achieve, and what we're all trying to achieve is ultimately we want to bring some silverware to Huddersfield and kick the game on in our town.
How have the lads been this week? What was captain's run like yesterday, the last training session before today?
Yeah, very good. They've been relaxed all year, and we've played some big games all year and been real relaxed. And we just got to make sure everybody knows the job, and some real simple mottos at our club. And one is do your job, and if we're confident if everybody can do their job and get one over top of the counterparts out there for Wigan, then we're confident what we're capable of.
You've played them 3 times this year. At half-time, you were leading on 2 occasions. The next game, it was a draw, but you've gone on to lose those games. Have you talked about playing for that full 80 minutes against this Wigan side?
No, once again, we've talked very little on Wigan, to be fair. Everybody knows in the world what Wigan are going to do. Wayne has his style and you know what it's going to be. His motto is you know what's coming, so try and stop it. So we'll be the same. We've concentrated a hell of a lot on ourselves. In regards to them little stats you said there, they're good to know, aren't they? So we'll see. Hopefully we're in front at half time and kick on and win the game at the end. So what we have to do is give ourselves a chance. If we're in front at half time, great stuff. And if we're at front at the end, then obviously we've got a good week coming.
Well, they would have a very good week coming were they to make it to their maiden grand final. Okay, tomorrow we have the Leeds Rhinos against St Helens, a game you can see live on Sky Sports. But this one will focus our attention for the next couple of hours. The Wigan Warriors against the Huddersfield Giants. The Wigan Warriors in second, courtesy of a fantastic home record, unbeaten in Super League here. In fact, in this season, they've lost only twice in the last 2 years here. The Huddersfield Giants will need to bring their tremendous 2015 away record here to the DW Stadium. They've won 9 from 14. As Terry said there, 3 times these sides have met. Let's take you back to the first of those, round 2 on the 13th of February.
From Powell to Hampshire, from Bowen to Joel Tompkins. Connor puts the ball on the end of his foot and finds Murphy. That's a beautifully crafted try. Wonderful run by Bateman. Outstanding. He's got support from Nakamura. Oh, great ball. Burgess underneath the sticks. And here is Bateman, and Bateman with the dummy, and Bateman with the try for Wigan. And Ellis floats the pass wide, quick hands. McGilvray is in, and McGilvray gets the first try. Cudjoe has found McGilvray again, and it's same again for Huddersfield. And Farrell's opened them up. Farrell for the corner. Farrell with a great try. This is Williams. Oh, what a pass from George Williams to Lam Patrick.
Yet another Wigan Warriors victory here at the DW Stadium. That one in round 1 of the Super 8s. The opposition, the Huddersfield Giants. The Huddersfield Giants in that game, John Wells, who joins me here now, got off to a tremendous start. I want you to look back at the defeat against the Leeds Rhinos. Phil Clark thinks it will be a Wigan Warriors victory here tonight. Did you see enough from the Huddersfield Giants in defeat against Leeds to suggest that they will not only trouble the Wigan Warriors, but can indeed win through here tonight and get to Old Trafford?
Yeah, there's 2 DVDs flying around this week. That's already a lot better than rehearsal. I said VHS, didn't I? I know which one I would be looking at. I wouldn't be looking at the Wigan Castleford one if I was Paul Anderson. All the answers for the Huddersfield Giants lay within their own DVD coverage against Leeds, and specifically, I have a habit of doing this when researching for games, breaking the game down into quarters and having a look at how teams start in those big games. With a look back at that game at the John Smith Stadium last week, and notwithstanding the heroics and the drama of the last 90 seconds, Huddersfield in that first 20 minutes were poor, and they could have put that game out of sight by the hour mark had it been for some better execution. And you asked me if Huddersfield can win Yes, but they're going to need to put right some serious wrongs.
Okay, what are the mechanics of that? What did you see in that first 20 minutes that they need to improve on to give themselves a chance?
First thing, you've got to give them some praise. You mentioned when your segment with Phil finished first, third and third on the last 3 seasons with Paul Anderson. You break that team down and you have a look at it and you go the back 3, tick, 3 quarters, tick, halves, tick, pack, tick, kick, chase and defence. That's an irony because had Ryan Hall not scored in that last dying second last week, they would have finished top of the table in terms of points scored against them as well. So
all the ingredients are there. Then do you buy it that they're underachieving?
To be a great team, they're a good team. To be a great team, it needs for them to tighten up on things like this. All this from within the opening 20 minutes of the game. Play 1 and play 2. First real attacking shot at the Leeds line. This is play 3. It doesn't come off for them. Why they throw that pass, why they choose to try and push and play on, is beyond me, because they relieve an awful lot of pressure.
If Leeds throw that pass, though, people aren't so critical.
Well, Leeds have... well, the difference is Leeds catch that pass, and they're able to attack it different because the offload's better. You know, if you're not 100% committed to a play, abort the play and set up, you've got 3 in your pocket. Have a look at this one. This was from a penalty, so they had 6 plays inside the 30-metre area. Bad offload from Hubie, rescued a little from Kopchak. Now we're talking play 4. It's a pet play, short side. We'll come back to this. This is Danny Brough. Aborted because of some smart defence. Now they've chewed through the tackles. They have applied no real pressure, no meaningful pressure to that Leeds line. And then the last play is a complete shambles. And Leeds take 40 metres out of them with some fairly straightforward defence. Yeah, that's unforgivable end to the set. I guess that's the point you're making. If it was the Leeds Rhinos and they didn't have a brilliant attack set, it would invariably end up in the hands of Maguire or the hands of Sinfield to finish it off properly. Listen, I've not finished yet. Look at this. This is inside the first 5 minutes. I hope not. They had a game plan. You'd be struggling, wouldn't you? They had a game plan. And if the game plan is to kick early in the tackle count, to keep your opposition away from your try line and trust your defence, it needs to be a better kick than straight down the throat of one of the best kick returners in the league. Look where he finishes that with no effort, 45-metre line. And it's an important point as well, because he has been a good kick option to take some pressure off Danny Brough, but as you said, he can't do this. Yeah, and that's, again, inside the first 5 minutes, and that one, by the way, led directly to the Stevie Ward try. Here's the last example that I'm going to show you. Just have a look at where Leeds are, and more specifically, what Leeds are going to do. So I'll take it to the point to play the ball. They're caught offside, Huddersfield here. So these guys are all offside, all a metre offside. And you ask yourself why. Because you have a look at what are Leeds offering? It's a rhetorical question because the answer is nothing. They don't need to cheat that yard. And it's these small, incremental improvements that I see that if they make across the board, can make a huge difference. The discipline here, would you tie that in with the penalties they conceded? One to Carl Ablett underneath the post, and then a shoulder charge on Zach Hardacre to give Leeds Rhinos a penalty and field position towards the end of the game? I think you'd have to. Discipline discipline is the root. The reason, I mean, obviously that's a penalty that some coaches don't mind you conceding because it's born out of enthusiasm and eagerness to dominate the opposition. That you can distinguish that from the daft stuff that you saw later in the game that was probably down to fatigue more than anything else. Okay, there is a warning for the Wigan Warriors though. They are a very good defensive side, the Huddersfield Giants. They are very good in attack as well. You're going to show us a piece of footage of the Huddersfield Giants attack working in the past and evidence that it can and will work in the future. Yeah, then I'll preface this with again, in researching this, I feel for Huddersfield. I've played in these games. In fact, I've played exclusively in losing semi-finals. It's an awful feeling to have. And all the stuff I've shown you so far, it's very familiar because that's the sort of thing that ultimately costs you. Again, you know, here's a great example of what Huddersfield can do. This was in round 3 of the Super 8s when they went to St Helens and beat them. And have a look at... You got a detailed insight into this play, didn't you, after the game? Well, we were fortunate enough to speak to Danny Brough after the game. This is Danny Brough here. It's a pet play of theirs. They've got 2 line runners, one inside the man, one outside the man. On this occasion, they hit a Kumatai. All looks very easy. And you say to yourself, right, okay, well, you could do that 9 times out of 10, and they do. Now, this play, arguably better because they've got a front line runner here holding 2 defenders, so arguably they're going to have more opportunities, and they do, because I'll run it onto the point of the pass. And they've got the same play, exactly the same play. One inside, one outside. A defender they've spotted. But Brough probably spoilt for choice because either of these men, if you keep your eye on the 2 runners, go through and score a try untouched. It's just that reaction to when the pressure, and whether that's put on yourself or from externally, when that pressure is ratcheted up, That's the question now they have to answer.
Interestingly, you showed that bit of footage there. See Danny Brough obviously heavily involved in that. Paul Anderson referenced the 7 chances they created in the game against the Leeds Rhinos, took just 2 of those. The Leeds Rhinos, on the other hand, and you could expect this from Wigan as well, created 4 chances, a lot less, but took 3 of them.
Yeah, well, that speaks to excuse me, the experience in the big games, doesn't it? And Wigan used to converting opportunities and converting chances. Huddersfield, when the pressure is off or against so-called lesser teams, no problem for them. This is when the spotlights are on and the crowd is full and there's pressure on. This is now where they have to now tell us and tell themselves as much as anything else that they can do it.
Yeah, interesting story coming out of the Wigan Warriors camp. They were brought into the changing rooms here at the DW Stadium yesterday by their coach, Sean Wayne, sat down around in a circle and were asked to tell their teammates what was the most important thing about this game for them. It ended with Ben Flower saying, I owe it to all of you who've helped me redeem my career. I owe it to all of you to get us back to Old Trafford. You had Danny Brough here at the touchscreen after a game, John, recently. You will have another player back tonight after the full-time whistle. Who's it going to be?
Going to do it a bit differently this time. I'm sick of picking the players from the losing side. That's my fault in the past. We're going to cover all bases, and I don't think it's fair to ask somebody from the losing side of a semi-final to come and talk to us and break down why they lost. That would be unfair. You know, we've asked and we've had some great responses and some really positive responses. That means they're easy picks. You know, we've saved the best to last, in my opinion. Sean O'Loughlin will join us should Wigan win, and Danny Brough, the captain for the Huddersfield Giants, should join us if they win. It'll be a great chat, and hopefully they'll offer some great insight. Whatever the verdict, we can't lose. I know one of these teams can, but we're going to get some real privileged information later.
Yeah, you had Danny Brough here before. You've had Matty Smith. It has been brilliant insight. That's after the full-time whistle on Sky Sports 1. Make sure you join us for that. Okay, the Huddersfield Giants, says Phil Clark, they come up short when it comes to big games. They have, though, in the past, given us some fantastic playoff memories.
2 remaining for Warrington. Monaghan gets it away. This is Bridge. Bridge to Mathers. Oh, picked early on by Cudjoe.
Has he got the legs? Has he got the legs?
Cudjoe is going to go all the way.
He's going in for the Giants.
Cudjoe seals Huddersfield's win. Huddersfield will march on. Leroy Cudjoe has scored the try that takes the Huddersfield Giants another step on the road to Old Trafford. Two sides here that came within an inch of winning the League Leaders' Shield. Wigan couldn't do much more than beat Castleford. Their 47-12 victory against the Tigers was thanks to a huge effort in the second half, and Dom Manfredi's 4 tries was the highlight. Super League specially commissioned helicopter was all set to deliver the Shield to the DW Stadium before a last-second twist in the tail at Huddersfield. The Giants were beating Leeds 16-8 with 7 minutes remaining, but in a remarkable finish, Ryan Hall's try as the final siren sounded broke the Giants' hearts and robbed them and Wigan of lifting the prize. So now it's 80 minutes away from Old Trafford. Can Wigan get back there for a 3rd year in a row, or will the Giants create history and make it for the first time? This is only the Giants' 3rd grand final qualifier. Wigan are way off the scale at the other end. This is their 14th, and they've won 6 of them previously. So Old Trafford awaits either Wigan or Huddersfield, and in 3 meetings this year so far, Wigan have held the upper hand. So to the teams, and Wigan coach Sean Wayne could hardly leave out Dom Manfredi after the young winger ran in 4 tries against Castleford last week. He gets the nod over Josh Charnley. John Bateman returns to the side in his last week, having played the previous 9. An unchanged pack. Liam Farrell's return last week against Castleford was a timely one. He was the man of the match in the Super 8 meeting with the Giants in August. An unchanged bench too. Will Larn Patrick shatter his parent club's Old Trafford dream? He returns to the Giants next season. For Huddersfield, well, how will they get over the trauma of losing in the last second to Leeds last week? There's a change in the backs. 20-year-old Jake Connor returning to the side, having missed last week. He got 2 tries on his previous outing against Hull. Connor's return to action means that Joe Wardle can move back into the second row of the pack. Paul Anderson's tinkered with his lineup slightly. Wardle was in the centre last week, so Brett Ferris shifts to loose forward. And there's changes on the bench where Earl Crabtree and Chris Bailey return. Ukuma Tai drops down, having started last week. So a season's work for both Wigan and Huddersfield comes down to this. As I say, the helicopter was hovering overhead here last Friday, and then Ryan Hall and Leeds won the League Leaders' Shield. Huddersfield will be anxious to shed their Neely Men title that they've held for 10 seasons now. They lost the 2006 Challenge Cup final, lost again in 2009 at Wembley. They have never got beyond the semi-finals in the playoffs. 2 years ago, Huddersfield were the League Leaders' Shield winners. They should have got to Old Trafford. Wigan beat them in their first playoff tie. Warrington saw them off in the second. Tonight's the night for Huddersfield to really stand up and be counted and take their long-suffering fans all the way down Sir Matt Busby Way to the Theatre of Dreams. The big question mark, of course, is, can they achieve?
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for the Huddersfield Giants, but you've also got to take into account that sometimes when you're playing a semi-final, Eddie, it's not about what football you're going to produce, it's about guts, determination, and make sure you don't come up with the errors. And Huddersfield, they learned a lesson last week. They gave away 2 silly penalties that allowed Leeds to square the scoreboard, and then, of course, the penalty that got them into position with the try by the winger only 5 seconds to go. The one thing you've got to look at is the fact that the Giants have at least gone to Wembley twice, so they know how to win a semi-final. A lot of people are forgetting about that, and it is very, very difficult. The pressure is on both sides. Wigan will start favourites tonight, and rightly so. They're on their home minute, but it should be a classic. The Giants are full of confidence.
Yes, they are. That's the word coming out of the Huddersfield Giants dressing room, that they have bounced back brilliantly from last week. We are now in the cauldron of semi-final football. Wigan's motivation has been there all year to get back to Old Trafford, exercise the demons of 12 months ago, which denied them back-to-back titles. Here we go then, the biggest 80 minutes of these 2 seasons, and Jamie Ellis is underneath the kickoff, gives the ball to Craig Hubie. There's the first tackle of the match. McIlorum low down, Farrell and George Williams, the Young Player of the Year nominee, who put the first tackle in. And Jack Hughes, another man back on familiar territory. He's off to Warrington 2016, out on loan with the Huddersfield Giants all throughout this season. He and Lon Patrick on mission improbable and impossible, perhaps, tonight on either side of the fence. Huddersfield looking to move the ball wide early.
And interesting to see that Paul Anderson, the coach, obviously look at that short blindside. It really should have offloaded there. They had the opportunity. You could see that the Wigan defence had gone to 2 men marking just one.
Bruff into centre field to Ferris. He tips it away and gets Craig Hubie involved. We have reached the 5th tackle, so here comes the last. This will go high off the left boot of Danny Bruff. He got a shove in the back from McIlorum. This is hanging in the air, and Bowen is underneath it. He pouches it calmly for Wigan as the purple jerseys came rushing at him. Jamie Ellis leading the way.
And not surprising that it was Danny Bruff, and the coach Paul Anderson would have said, we've got to pinpoint Matty Bowen. Sometimes he's brilliant at taking the high kick, other times he gets a little bit jittery. It's all about pressurising and getting the nerves.
Steve-O, the job of Matty Bowen is made very much easier with kick pressure. It was Michael McIlorum who got off the line, give Danny Bruff no time. We've all seen Danny Bruff put the ball as high as he possibly can, making it as difficult as possible for Matty Bowen.
Ben Thaler, the referee, signifies that it is the last tackle here, and Wigan are running it with Williams. Williams gets the ball away down that far side, and Gildart runs the ball into touch. They're going to take risks tonight, both sides.
Well, I'm not so sure that Sean Wayne, the coach, would be quite happy with this. They could have had at least 30 or 40 metres downfield, get the kick and chase, and maybe harass the Giants into come up with an error. But to run it on that short side on the last, I'm not so sure that this gentleman would be happy with that.
Good defence from Jamie Ellis. Here is the game's top try scorer, Jermaine McGilvray, 27 tries. Oh, that was an awful play of the ball, very scruffy indeed.
Well, to be fair, 2 Wigan players didn't get out of the way. That could have been a penalty. Ben Thaler said carry on with it. Oh, that's good. That's good defence.
Great defence from Wigan. McIlaurin was in first. He missed him, but the next three didn't. Robinson, the dummy half. Danny Brough. Brough then gets it away to Ellis. Ellis will find Griggs. Griggs then to Cudjoe. He's taking on Gildart. Good defence from Gildart, forcing him over the line. Great defence from young Ollie Gildart.
And again, working that short blind side. I'm not so sure that these are the right tactics. Gildart did it ever so well. No way for the winger. And the centre, Leroy Cudjoe.
Well, Oliver Gildart, just 19 years of age. 6th appearance in a row. This is his playoff debut. And since we saw him 6 games ago, we said he's playing way above his 19 years, and he has let nobody down.
Well, I went to Salford to watch him play his first game in Super League, which was actually on loan for the Salford Reds. He could never imagine earlier this season that he'd get to within 1 game of the grand final, be playing outside the out wide for Wigan on this game, but a great opportunity for him to show us what he's got tonight.
Matty Smith is in at dummy half for the Wigan Warriors, gets the ball into the middle of the field, and Joel Tompkins struggles to his feet, plays the ball quickly though, and this is now Bateman.
He'll be a big player tonight, especially running down on this right-hand side.
Dom Crosby will take it up the middle, straight into the chest of Craig Hubie. Jack Hughes is round the ankles, down goes Dominic Crosby. Mickey McIlaurin finds Sean O'Loughlin. No look pass to Matty Smith. And Matty Smith was almost through. He was clawed to the ground by Craig Kopchak. They've reached the last here, Wigan. It's with Bowen. Bowen in behind the full-back. And also a little bit too long.
Good work by Murphy. Didn't take the gamble, but he took it with his foot over the line. You'll see, you see quite clearly.
Oh, now then, he's touching the air, Stuart.
Yeah. He's got to get out behind the line before he touches it. He's actually touched it with his left hand as it goes out.
It's a goal line dropout. That was touched without a doubt by Aaron Murphy, and his foot was in the air.
Well, it turned out to be a pretty good kick by Matty Bowen, the full back, and that's quite clear, isn't it? Just got the fingertips to it in the end, but neat work from the Wigan full-back.
Steve, Huddersfield have got to be under pressure in this game. I don't expect that they've gone out trying to plan for it to be within the first 5 minutes, but it's important for the Giants that they make it through this period of pressure.
Oh, and that's a goal line dropout that's not reached the 40-metre mark. We got a little bit underneath that, did Danny Brough. This is Matty Bowen. He raises the hand as well to acknowledge maybe a slight mistake. So Wigan will come again with Joel Tompkins.
And again, Wigan trying to just prise open on that blind side.
They go in centre field though this time to Matty Smith. He drops the ball off to Ben Flower. Ben Flower over for the first try for Wigan. Well, we got an insight from Brian Carney, John Wells before the match that this man, Ben Flower, said he owed a big performance tonight to his teammates who have perhaps rescued this young man's career after last year's grand final. And what a start he's given them. Ben Flower for Wigan.
Beautiful set move. Go left, and then Key came back on the angle. There was a huge gap. All came about there, and Murphy didn't get his foot on the line over it before he touched the ball. Back on the inside. When you come on the angle like that, dearie me, that was poor defence by the Giants. It looked simple, but you could see he was out on that left-hand side, comes on the route across, and they never shuffle quickly. The defence was caught out. This was a beautiful move. Fred Ferris got nowhere near him.
Well, he missed the Super 8's opener against the Giants. He had played in all of the previous 15, though. Suspended for the first 11 of 2015. He has played, though, half of the Wigan Warriors games this year. It's a remarkable comeback for Ben Flower. He really has had his head down all year and dug himself in deep. And that's his 3rd try of the season. And this now is Matty Bowen just measuring up this kick from bang in front of the sticks. And this for a 6-0 lead to the Wigan Warriors. He's taking a lot of time over this. Every kick matters, every minute matters, every second matters in 2015.
I want you to take a look at young Jake Connor in this passage of play. He's the bloke at marker. Now his job is to plug that gap. Brett Ferris is at A defender, Jake Connor is at marker, and between those two players, they need to look after Ben Flower, and it's that attention to detail. Talked about it, they'd have to absorb some pressure, the Giants. It means you can't clock off, and you can't assume that somebody else will do your job.
Yeah, good tactics. That was obviously off the training ground, Sean Wayne, and beautiful inside pass by Matty Smith. And the big fella, as Eddie had already mentioned, went through a few heartaches after last year's grand final. What a start for the home side.
And what a start for Ben Flower in this semi-final. We're going to head then 6 points to nil. The fourth meeting this of 2015. Third on Wigan's home ground. 30-22 to Wigan in the first round of the Super 8s in August. 24-16 here in February, round 2. 32-18 at the John Smith Stadium in June, round 17. And George Williams is away. It's Oliver Gildart who's away. He has support from Liam Farrell. And Liam Farrell...
Oh, should have passed. Matty Bowen was screaming for the ball. He's got it now.
And Matty Bowen going for the line himself. And there are defenders there who hold him up on tackle number 5. But what a Quicksilver attack from Oliver Gildart. Michael McIlorum waits, flings the pass back to Williams. Williams then finds Matty Smith. Good hands from Wigan. Forward though, on the bounce to Dom Manfredi. And Dom Manfredi, who is 22 years young today, was thinking perhaps this was a birthday present coming his way.
This is a massive relief here for Huddersfield. Last year they lost on this ground in the playoffs, and Wigan again scored back-to-back tries. Having scored a try in the next set of possession, they went to the length of the field and scored again. They almost did it on that occasion. Probably Huddersfield need to increase the concentration. Having conceded points to a higher level, they just switched off there, and they're not coping with the passes that we're going to make into the far side of the field, obviously attacking Huddersfield on the right.
This is an important set for the Huddersfield Giants. First of all, they've got to get the ball out of their own half of the field.
Yeah, they've got to get somewhere near the halfway line so that they can get the kick away. It really has put them under pressure. He's gone early.
He's gone for a 40-20. He just didn't quite get the angle right, but he'll turn the possession over very early. Went on the third tackle, and Matty Bowen picks it up 10 metres away from his own line. Here comes Manfredi now.
Well, that's not a bad option as well. Obviously, Paul Anderson realises that Danny Brough has got that long kicking game. Okay, didn't get the 40-20, but at least they're in the Wigan half now. Try to force the error. But the way Wigan are really up for this, you know, they come out with 2 set pattern moves. Gildart straight through, and then we see the first try from Flower. Paul Anderson, the Giants coach, will be wondering that, you see, they're hanging back. They're not moving into the faces of Wigan players.
That was George Williams with a little scamper. Here now is McIlorum. He finds O'Loughlin. O'Loughlin into centre field to Matty Smith. Smith then to Bowen. Good hands from Bowen. Finds Bateman. And Bateman trying to get away from 2. He can't manage it in the end. Hubie coming over as reinforcements. Bowen waits 20 metres away from the line. They're on the last. The kick from Matty Smith is high and wide. And the ball bounces and into the arms of Burgess. He flings it back. It's missed everybody. It's missed everybody. It's still the last. This is Matty Bowen. He gets it wide to Bateman. And Bateman comes the other way. That's charged down. That will go out behind the sticks. Goal line dropout.
Well, it appeared that way. Sheer panic again in the Huddersfield defensive pattern. They really should have gone for that. And that just shows you the problem that they're having.
10 meters, lads, come on. On the 10.
See how he just get... Brough doesn't want to get involved. Not the best. Brough sort of got the boot out. Definite ricochet. Either way, they are under so much pressure.
Second goal line dropout coming up for Huddersfield. Wigan scored from the last.
Well, Steve, I agree. They're under pressure here, Huddersfield, and we've talked about pressure. Them handling that pressure, but they are getting bodies in front of players. And even though Wigan have brought their defensive line several times, the Giants are getting back.
Again, not a very good kick from Danny Brough.
It's just that I'm really worried about the Giants' defensive pattern. Some are moving up, others are hanging back. They utilise a sliding defence when they're only 15 metres from their own line. That is dangerous. Oh, they've lost it.
He's lost the ball. It's a free play. This is Scott Griggs. Scott Griggs takes the tackle of George Williams.
Boy, they needed that. It was a big hit from Paris. Dislodged the ball.
McGilvray goes down under a similar big hit. Robinson, ex of Wigan, of course, at the start of his career, way back in 2002. Robinson played in 2003-2004 in Super League for the Wigan Warriors. Here he is tonight, 80 minutes away from Old Trafford with the Giants, and Grix goes down under Bateman's challenge.
Beautiful play there by John Bateman. He realised that the full-back was linking through.
Oh!
Shocker. They can't afford it. Paul Anderson knows it. That was a golden opportunity to just settle things down. Maybe you could get it. Not the best pass, you could see. He was dipping just in front. It's just the basics, and I'm afraid the Giants are letting themselves down.
You see the eyes of Danny Brough then when he caught that ball, he picked it up, he looked at Aaron Murphy. He could have read his mind. We need to be a little bit better than that, I think. Loosely translated what his body language was telling us.
Well, they lost in the last 5 seconds last week. I hate to keep harping on about it for Huddersfield supporters. They were 16-8 up with 7 minutes to go. Big question coming into this match was how would they react? Would they be traumatised? 11.5 minutes of the first half of the semi-final gone, and so far they haven't handled it too well, but maybe there's something more to come from the Giants.
One team are playing the ball quite a lot quicker than the other. The Giants having to expend so much energy to cope with what we're going to have thrown at them that will drain them in time. This is an interesting set here. You talk about being able to be a good team. That's coping when you haven't played and started the game well, which is Huddersfield are in that situation.
Wigan rolling forward again with Smith. He gets it away to Joel Tompkins. 23rd consecutive appearance for Tompkins. Have his brother, of course, back here at Wigan with him next year. This now is O'Loughlin, finds Liam Farrell. And Farrell goes down on the last tackle coming up, 20 metres away from the Huddersfield line. McIlorum scheming, looking left and right, comes right and finds Bowen eventually. Ball is stabbed through, and Scott Grix picks it up. Wigan supporters appealing for obstruction on Bowen as he chased that. And not impressed, Ben Thaler, and then gives the penalty for offside against the Wigan Warriors.
Yeah, just lacked a little bit of composure, didn't it, Matty Bowen? The idea yet again, interesting to see how Sean Wayne has got Matty Smith there as first receiver to give the impression he's going to put the kick in, but you find the fullback comes through. It was a good idea.
Luke, let's go with it.
And this is not a bad thing, just to just settle things down. Scott Grix getting a little bit of bandage around the head. If they can just keep away and only be 6 points down when they get to the halfway mark, Eddie, they'll be quite happy with it, because it's been a poor performance by the Giants so far.
The goal at the end of this set, Eddie, is to force a goal line dropout. We've seen 2 from Wigan. Can Huddersfield force one at the end of these 6?
Well, that will be their aim. But Scott Grix goes down on the second tackle, and they're still inside their own half of the field on the back of that penalty. This is Brett Ferris now, operating tonight at loose forward. Brett Ferris, only his 7th appearance in the first team since Easter.
Well, Ferris tried his damnedest to get the penalty.
Grix, and that was an important tackle by Williams.
Was it ever? Tried to hand him off. Now then, the first opportunity for the Giants.
With Brough directing operations in centre field, out the back door to Ellis. Here now is Craig Kopchak. Kopchak then
lost it.
gives it to Ellis. He lost it forward.
As soon as it hit Liam Farrell, it was classified as a knock-on. He just loses control.
Not sure why Kopchak passed that ball. He got on the end of it a few offloads. I think if he drives that, keeps his head down and plays the ball quick, the next tackle is the 5th tackle, puts the Giants on the front foot.
Yeah, and the problem with Ben is that they've got the likes of Danny Brough, who can put in that little kick into the in-goal area. You know, they've got to utilise it. Once they get into that area, they've got to try to get a second set, or even score the try.
Well, we caught a glimpse of the Huddersfield Giants coach, Paul Anderson, little puff of the cheeks when that move broke down. Under him, they've been first, third, and third again. Can they take the final step this year? Bateman goes down, tackle number 3. Offside. Offside against Huddersfield. Too eager, too quick. Too quick for the referee's liking.
And to be fair, Ben Thaler's told them, get back. And you can see he had 3 or 4 to select from there. And they're playing the old game, you know, this Huddersfield Giants side. Remember, they were leading against Leeds last week. Gave away 2 silly penalties. You've got to have your brain box working.
Steve, their job is being made very difficult by Wigan players landing on the front and playing the ball quickly. They're unable to get back on side. They're unable to get a solid line of defence in front of the Wigan attackers. Watch how many players, how many times land on the front and play the ball before the markers are set.
Flower played that ball. Here is Williams, who went for a gap which was quickly closed by Kopczak and Wardle. And they have another penalty, Wigan. There was a hand on the football again. Craig Kopczak picked out by the referee.
And that's because they're losing the play of the ball. They're trying to slow things down. They're trying to just grab an extra second.
There's one thing slowing it down. There's another thing giving away a silly penalty. He gave away a shoulder charge that allowed Leeds to equal the scoreline. Earlier than that, with about 10 minutes before, Jamie Ellis gave hands in the... You've got to make sure you get your hands free. It's just easy for the official to say, well, I'm going to penalise.
It was Wardle, I think, who had the hands all over the ball, not Kopczak. This is interesting. I mean, Kopczak had hold of his shorts as well. Interesting decision by Wigan here. They've got Huddersfield on the rack. They're going for 2.
Cast your mind back, actually, 12 months when Wigan won 57-4. After 20 minutes, it was 2-0 to Wigan. They kicked a penalty to start the game. I think they're aware of how good Huddersfield can be. Every point matters as well as every minute in this match. And these appear a relatively easy 2 for Matt Bowen to put over.
Interesting, Bowen taking the kicks at the moment. Matty Smith, he's not had the kicking duties for the win at Huddersfield since kicking 5 in the win at Huddersfield in August. Matty Bowen has taken over.
It is very interesting, isn't it, that they've decided towards the end of his career, having Matt Smith kicked all of last season, most of this, to let Bowen do it. They've both got similar accuracy records, not up near what the likes of Kevin Sinfield or Luke Walsh are, but good enough on that occasion to get them 2 more.
Yes, and Wigan are 8-0 ahead, and there was never a doubt when that ball left the boot of Matty Bowen, who of course is in his last year. He made his Wigan debut in the 24-8 defeat here in round 1 of last year. Did Matty Bowen. He wants to get the better of them tonight and get back to Old Trafford for a 2nd year in a row.
Well, it's all one-way traffic at the moment. I'm afraid the 2 occasions that the Giants got anywhere near the Wigan line, they either knocked on or got the opportunity to put the kick in. They've got to try to settle down, and they've also got to try to stop this Wigan outfit getting over the advantage line, and they're getting over it with considerable ease.
Ben Flowers very good at that. You saw him go into that collision. It looked and appeared as if the Huddersfield players had got him on his back, and he span round, got on his front and played it quick. It's those little things that are giving the advantage to the Warriors.
Sean O'Loughlin was asking for a penalty from the whistle of Ben Thaler there. He'd have none of it.
Pushing forward.
And Wigan are pushing forward at the play the ball and pushing Huddersfield back a metre or 2. That's a good solid effort though from Don Crosby.
That's where they're winning the game, Wigan. No doubt about that. You can see again, I keep saying it, the Giants, that'll be a knock-on. They've got away with that. Calorum didn't look too happy.
Well, O'Loughlin's even less happy, but Luke Robinson's delighted.
The ball's out there.
There was a hand in there as well, and you can see that the knee dislodged that from Ferris.
Yeah, I think the hands come from the back, hasn't it? And that's what Ben Thaler hasn't seen, unfortunately. But in his view, it just looked like he's come out cold.
It was on the blind side of him. See there.
All right, wait there, please, Jamie. Stay there, George.
Very difficult for referees to judge that. They have to make an instant decision. I'll refrain from using the word guess, Stuart, because I know you don't like that. This is Leroy Cudgett. How did the Twitter session go? Were there plenty of people talking to you?
There certainly was, yes. Very sensible questions too.
Excellent. Now then, here comes Huddersfield with Wardle. That's good defence though from John Bateman. Steve-O has the shift at half-time, and Phil will be joining you on Twitter at full-time.
And again, great work there. John Bateman really goes overtime when it comes to defence.
Griggs stabs the ball into the corner. It's a little bit too far ahead of everybody, but Bowen was taking no chances, and that's exactly what the Giants wanted. A goal line dropout.
Certainly is, and Paul Anderson will be very relieved indeed. Good work by the fullback, Griggs. Bowen had no option. He could smell the breath. Bang, let's get out of here.
Applause from the coach, thumbs up from the coach. Nice kick from Scott Griggs. Maybe he was looking for the big fella, Jermaine McGilvray, on the outside, but the reward isn't bad, a goal line dropout, which Wigan are in no hurry to take. Mind you, Huddersfield haven't been in any particular haste to take theirs.
But it's a glimmer of hope for the coach, Paul Anderson.
Now what's Matty Smith's goal line dropout skills like? Not much better than Danny Brough, to be fair, although good job that McGilvray got to that. It was on its way over the side line.
Now can the Giants build a little bit of momentum?
Kopczak will take it forward.
Got to make sure they do not come up with an error.
Wigan turning Huddersfield over on their back, slowing this play the ball down. Here's Jamie Ellis. Now it's with Danny Brough. Brough attacking the line. Short ball to Jake Connor.
He's lost it
Jake
again.
Connor drops the ball. Well, they are their own worst enemies tonight at the moment.
Yeah, but it was a good impact, wasn't it? Bateman again getting his shoulder in there. But the Giants cannot afford to be doing this.
Like, it wasn't just about the impact of the shoulder. Wigan's patience of the outside backs there to back off and just buy some time. They did that incredibly well, though. That's a try in probably 9 out of 10 games that Huddersfield play. Whoa!
Oh, what are they doing?
There's a long pass to Liam Farrell. They got away with it, Wigan. But Huddersfield are excited here. So are their supporters behind the sticks. Wigan's turn to get excited now as Burgess gets a half break. And a quick play the ball. O'Loughlin finds Bowen, and Bowen hacks it downfield. Over the top of Murphy. Has to be careful and will go for a 40-20, but Murphy picks it up one-handed. Great chase from Wigan, though, led by Bateman.
He's on fire, is Bateman, at the moment.
And this now is Danny Brough. Great defence, Wigan.
Now we've started, haven't we? That seems to have stoked the fire. It was a good shot from the Wigan defence. An incredible effort from Huddersfield to trap Wigan down on their own line. Just bubbling away nicely now.
Yeah, you can see, Baz, that Wigan's forwards, they're taking control. They're bashing the opposition.
Kopczak will take it forward again, only as far as Ben Flower and Liam Farrell.
Maybe it's time for Paul Anderson to throw on the big fella, Earl Crabtree.
High off the boot of Ellis, this. Bowen leaps high and is tackled in the air by Cudjoe. Penalty.
Yeah. And it was a lazy right arm as well. It did not need it. Watch this. Why on earth did he just stay away from it?
You could hardly call it a tackle, but it was a touch.
Yeah, because he knew, didn't he? Leroy Cudjoe knew it was an illegal tackle. It was tackled in the air as we see Earl Crabtree warming up. You'd imagine he's going to change for Kopczak or Hubie and keep the rotation in the front row to lift the intensity. It can be sometimes as simple as run harder, tackle harder, get your shoulder in and control that play of the ball. The last couple of minutes, Huddersfield have done that and they've got a foothold in the game now.
Yeah, and it's a good move by Anderson to throw in the big fella Crabtree, because at least he will attract 2, 3, sometimes 4 defenders. They need a leader up front, get over that advantage.
And he's preparing for his entrance, is Big Earl. This, meanwhile, is Big Tony Clubb. Huddersfield have won 5 of their last 6 games. Now then, there's a penalty to Wigan.
Well, they never got out of the play the ball area. You can't just hang around.
And that's why he's given it, Steve. There's a Kopczak's in the way. McIlaurin made the most of it, but he was still effective picking that ball up.
Well, the penalty count won't please Huddersfield. It's 4 in a row.
But look at that. You can't just stand there, put your hands on your head and say, oh, I'm not involved. That used to happen maybe 30, 40 years ago. But not in the Fast and Furious Super League.
McIlaurin will find Tony Clubb. Wardle and Kopczak deal with the threat on that occasion. Here now is McIlaurin, infield to Mossop. Mossop then untidily, it finds its way to George Williams. And Williams then goes down in the tackle from Wardle again. McIlaurin, 20 metres out, will take them on himself, then fires the pass back to Williams. Williams goes for it. Craig Hubie got to him, and so too did Brett Ferris. 2 to go in this set. With Matty Smith. Smith back on the inside. Tony Clubb takes some stopping. They stop him, but only just.
Was it a case of obstruction there? It looked like it.
Williams will slide the kick in. The chasers have arrived. The ball's beaten everybody.
Boy, they were fortunate there, Wigan, because there was definitely a blockage. Watch the dummy runner back on the inside. That's got to be obstruction.
Well, he's run on the inside shoulder, and it's forced the defender to come across to him, so they would have probably got away with that.
Would have been interesting had it gone up to video referees James Child and Phil Bentham, who were watching this match as keenly and as eagerly as all of us. 25 minutes gone, Crabtree is in. Offside against Wigan on the far side. He's pointed at Joe Burgess, Oliver Gildart here.
Yeah, it's Gildart that's got out of the blocks far too quickly. Well, this will be huge relief because they are being outplayed at the moment, both in the forward battle and the three quarters. They need to settle down, the Giants, now.
Cudjoe will take the first drive in. He makes good progress too into the 20-metre zone. Gets to his feet, plays the ball to Jack Hughes. Comes to Ellis, now Brough. Here is Ferris. And Ferris stands. Oh, if he could have got that ball away. Scott Griggs was hunting something. Robinson finds Danny Brough. Brough then to Griggs. Jake Connor. Oh, they've dropped it again.
Shocking pass, shocking finish. Paul Anderson. Well, he wants to find something to headbutt. That is a poor pass under pressure. Bateman followed him through. Not the best from Jake Connor.
The pass was marginal. The decision to pass, I think, was the issue. Straighten up, Jake Connor, because you're passing it to a person, to a player that has two defenders in front of him. Tony Clubb's getting a bit of attention. As I say, it's ramped up in the last 5 minutes or so.
But again, the opportunity for the Giants to apply some sort of pressure. They haven't done much option.
It is hard to keep your head up here now when you're Jake Connor. You've had a couple of chances, they've bombed them down the left-hand side. You've seen the coach and the chairman looking on here now in frustration and a little bit of anxiety rising amongst your own team. To wipe that from your memory, start again and not dwell on that mistake. Takes some doing, but that's what Huddersfield need to do because they haven't been good for the last 25 minutes.
Slight delay while Luke Robinson got a change of jersey. Touch of blood on the fabric, so it has to be changed.
10 metres!
Manfredi going nowhere with those three around him. Crabtree all over the top of him, taking a risk there.
Well, Akuma Tide's out there and he usually puts himself about. They need a little bit more sparkle and a little bit more toughness from the forward, from the Giants, that's for sure. At least Wigan are not getting over it as quickly as they were in the opening 20.
What's happened, Johnny?
It's a knock-on, I think, going against Sean O'Loughlin here.
Yeah, looks like it.
The referee's having a word with the touch judge, far side. He's called a knock-on.
We've got a knock-on. I haven't got the ball, so what we got? Knock-on.
Good defence from Huddersfield. There's some intensity in those collisions, some control. Sean O'Loughlin, who's quite possibly the toughest player on the pitch at the minute, drops the ball clean. Under the pressure from Jack Hughes and his colleagues, they're hitting, they're hurting, and they're trying to control on the floor.
Out!
Yeah, the impact of the big fella as well. Crabtree certainly disjointed it.
Play on, play on! One, move! Ready, Mick? Wait, boys!
So, coming up to the 28th minute, and Huddersfield in possession with Joe Wardle again.
Two. Movement, Joe!
And this is where the likes of Danny Brough and Jamie Ellis control the game, but as I say, they've just squandered every opportunity.
Robinson finds Brough. Here's Ellis. It's a solid Wigan defence so far, offering Huddersfield no opportunity whatsoever. Crabtree, Brough, Wardle, wide from Connor, and Connor goes down. Great tackle by Bateman. Brough to Wardle again. They come back down this left-hand side once more, but still no way through.
Got to be a dribble kick into the in-goal area, surely.
Brough goes into the centre and finds Ferris. They'll turn it over underneath the Wigan sticks.
Well, I suppose it was worth a gamble, but I would have opted for the kick. Bit of push and shove, mainly handbags. Ferris didn't take too kindly for it, but again, good defence by Wigan.
Back here. Go.
So what can Huddersfield produce here? They need a big effort now to keep Wigan pen near their own line. Leeds and Saints in the second semi-final tomorrow. Sky Sports 1 again, 7:30. And then we'll find out who's coming to join the party next year. Wakefield, will they stay up? Bradford, will they get promotion? 2:45, Sky Sports 1, the £1 million game. Here it's worth more than £1 million to these clubs. Bowen! Bowen is told to play the ball, a scruffy one at that. Tompkins picks it up.
It was a great tackle by Joe Wardle. It had to be as well.
And Wardle's on his haunches, just making his way back into the defensive line. He was hurt in that. Matty Smith with a kick downfield, right up the middle, into the arms of Aaron Murphy. Murphy to run it back. Only as far as this solid three-man Wigan wall.
Wait, boys. Good.
Well, it's been a slow road so far by the Huddersfield Giants, but you just get the feeling that they're getting themselves back into this match.
In a funny sort of way, after half an hour, only 8-0 down with all the possession, would you say that Paul Anderson will be not terribly displeased?
I think he will. I think he will, Eddie. With a 60-40 possession split, the Giants are doing okay now with a Big Daddy back on the pitch here now. He needs to impose himself, Crabtree, carry it strong, play it quick, and help his team to spring forward.
Jack Hughes, halted by the two youngsters, Gildart and Williams.
But you could see Jack Hughes was turning, and there was no support.
This is a kick looking for McGilvery out there. All it does is find Burgess.
They had the cover. Good work from Hughes.
Matty Bowen again for Wigan. Nice run, good pass. Manfredi goes down.
Ready, mate. Ready. Ready, go.
Now it's Bateman.
Well, the
Bateman goes down under sheer weight of numbers.
The Giants have got their defence sorted out a little bit better now. You can see they're coming in on the angle. They're coming as a unit. You know, in the opening 15 minutes, all they were doing was just taking a step and just wondering what Wigan were going to throw at them. Kicked early. It's not a bad one as well.
No, this will stay in the field of play. Griggs has got to work this away from his own line if he can. Good chase, led by Joel Tompkins, Mickey McAlorum.
Great tactics. Don't wait until the last. You can see that the wingers had not dropped back.
This is brutal Wigan defence.
Yep, they're bossing it at the moment.
Now Big Earl.
Three moves on. Ready, boys. Good.
Robinson. And McGilvery, who's had to come in off the wing looking for work.
Need some sort of big player, 40-20 or something, to turn the momentum of the match. They're over the 40 and they won't kick it on this play.
Ellis, laterally, scragged to the floor by Lee Mossop.
And again, there was little support from the Giants.
Off the foot of Bowen, picked up by Bowen, given to Manfredi. 4 tries last week against Castleton. Such a danger. Getting the nod tonight ahead of Josh Charnley, the England international. That's how highly he is rated by Sean Wayne. Bateman has dropped that. Oh, he's given a penalty.
I think Huddersfield are at a stage in this game. I know there's 7 and a bit minutes left of this first half. They've got to decide whether they're going to outthink Wigan or outmuscle them. If they're getting that slugfest, a lot of the big games, and the lads were talking about what it takes to win a semi-final. Very rarely are these intense, important games won on fast and furious rugby league. It's about that slugfest, that arm wrestle, and getting into the stages of the game where fatigue plays a factor.
Well, Huddersfield a little hard done by there with that penalty. Looked like he dropped it cold, the Wigan man. But Wigan will not be arguing, because here they are deep inside Huddersfield territory again, and Powell is out there who gives the ball to Tony Clubb.
And the Giants have had to go through a lot of hard work in defence, because Wigan have been far superior in attacking mode, and you just wonder what's going to be taken out of them when it gets later in this game.
There's always a hint of danger too when George Williams gets hold of that ball for Wigan. Here's Matty Smith now. Matty Smith just managed to stick in the fingertips of Tompkins. He then finds Powell. That now was O'Loughlin. He gives it to Bowen. And Bowen, Gildart will come back inside. He's left Crabtree on his knees. Good job that Ferris was there.
Oh, the good refereeing.
O'Loughlin, back he comes to Matty. Great tackle by, well, it would have been if he'd have held on to him, by Wardle. Ball played wide, looking for Manfredi. Finding Manfredi. He dumps it down. Bateman will score! John Bateman for Wigan. No need to refer that upstairs. I think the referee maybe said that Huddersfield had been, Wigan had been tackled in the air by the Huddersfield defender. gave the advantage to the Warriors and allowed the try to be scored. We've got a new team in Super League, Huddersfield, Steve.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And this is one where I think he dropped it cold. Was it a knee there? Was it intentional? Either way, the kick was superb. The way that he got the ball away, Matty Smith, was certainly, and the kick here, oh, Manfredi. And what about the positional sense there by Bateman? He's worked overtime in defence, but when you read a game like this, it's absolutely superb. Look, he knows that there may be an opportunity, so he drifts across to the blind side, and he is rewarded.
And then he gets buried underneath four Wigan colleagues. John Bateman with the try. Try number 8. Missed last week. Came back tonight. That last week was his first absence in 9. Tries home and away against Huddersfield in the Super League. He gives Wigan a 12-point lead, and Matty Bowen now with a very difficult conversion attempt from tight to this near touchline. Less than 5 to go to half-time. Wigan supporters happy enough with what they've seen so far. Matty Bowen has just traced the path of this ball in his mind's eye. Deliberate and diligent preparations for this kick from the Queenslander. He's lost grand finals in the NRL and of course last year too, Matty Bowen. And the kick is just wide of the far upright. 12-0 Wigan then.
Well, that could be an indication of the difference in class. It's a lovely little kick. You see the Wigan players at this point here are playing off the cuff, puts it into the place where he wants it to be, Sam Powell, and that's a wonderful take. He is tackled in the air from Aaron Murphy, who does lose his footing before he's called upon to make that tackle, but that's a good finish from the Warriors.
You know, the town of Leigh isn't far from Wigan, and yet doesn't produce many players who go on to play for the Warriors. Probably the last great player to come from Leigh was Steve Donlan back in the 80s. Don Manfredi comes from there, it's just a few miles down the road from here, and what a fantastic season and talent he's had. Breaks so many of the tackles when he's carrying the ball near his own try line and make sure he or his teammates get over it at the other end of the field. He's been brilliant this year for them.
He has, he's only played 16 times, but he scored 20 tries, Dom Manfredi, and that includes one in the opening round of these Super 8s against Huddersfield here in August.
It's a wonderful.
It's his birthday today as well, 22.
It's a wonderful strike rate, isn't it? And to be able to take a kick like that, I mean, it was a wonderful kick by Sam Powell.
Tompkins tries to bump his way through Chris Bailey, who is on the field, number 13. Came from centre field. That selection by Paul Anderson, Chris Bailey. He retires at the end of this season.
Look at that defence and look at the chase. They've been far superior in virtually every single department as a home side.
Well, what would Huddersfield give for a try out of nothing in the 3 minutes that remain to half-time? Cudjoe.
The biggest problem is that they're letting themselves down with basics, poor passing, knock-ons, just not getting it right. And did you see that umbrella defence there by Wigan? Out wide in the centres. Gildart came in on the angle. There was nowhere for the Giant to pass.
Last tackle here for Huddersfield then, so Brough up and trying to get it over the head of Manfredi, straight into his arms instead though. And he's picked up and dumped to the ground by Danny Brough.
Trapped!
I think that was all right.
Okay, go.
I think it was a great tackle.
Yeah, I don't think the legs went over the horizontal.
It looked a little bit dangerous, a little bit iffy because he got his shoulder in. He ducks down, hips up. There's a little bit of a twist at the end, maybe.
Well, they don't actually look at the legs, it's the torso. Does the torso go above the horizontal? Didn't look pretty, but that's probably why he's got away with that tackle.
Bateman, scorer of the latest Wigan try.
That's a fourth time now that Wigan have utilised that. Good refereeing again. They're trying to con the man with a whistle, but they're not doing it, and that is an opportunity.
Free play for Huddersfield. Wardle. Ellis. Well, they didn't look any great urgency about Huddersfield then when they picked up that ball on the free play. There was nothing forthcoming.
Eddie, I think they're a little bit tired. They've had to do a lot of defending.
Wait, boys, wait!
The kick and chase game has been, well, very low indeed. Way below par.
Move to!
Okumatai plays the ball. Chris Bailey comes down the short side with Wardle. Wardle then to Jake Connor. Connor is brought to ground by 3. Wardle waits, goes into centre field again to Bailey. He finds Brough. Brough then bullets the pass to Ellis. Ellis up and over the top to McGilvray. Now, first chance for McGilvray. He's through the first tackler. Jermaine McGilvray. Good tackle, Bowen.
Had to be as well. He's so strong, isn't he, McGilvray?
Cudjoe. Crabtree.
They've got to make it count to get back into this game.
Offside.
Quick tap, get on with it. There's only seconds remaining.
Oh, they're going to kick it goal.
He wants to take 2, Danny Brough, doesn't he? And I think, going back to the point you were making about defending, Wigan Warriors have made 140 tackles. The Huddersfield Giants, they've made 180, so 40 tackles.
I can't believe this.
Well, that's probably the reason why. We just heard the half-time siren. He knew there was about 8 seconds remaining. He thought we'd have 2 rather than nothing to take into the dressing room.
And they could have had 6.
Well,
they might have got nothing,
though. Yeah,
but sometimes you've got to take a gamble. They haven't been in this game at all. I don't think 2 points is going to help them in the dressing room.
Now they're all offside, the Wigan defenders on their own line.
A quick tap there. You can see that Wigan had just clocked off slightly.
You're thinking like Chris Robshaw, aren't you? You want to go for the try here.
Well, yeah, why not?
And look what happened to him.
Got vilified.
Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't.
There you go, Brough adds the 2 points from the penalty, which means Huddersfield turn round with something. They're not overly impressed with themselves, and I bet the Huddersfield fans are not overly impressed with the team either. But at least they've got something to build on now in the second half. They've got the 2 points from the boot of Danny Brough because time was ebbing in the first half. But it's been Wigan's first 40 minutes. Flower with a try after 5 minutes, Bowen a penalty goal, Bateman's try, 12-2 to the Wigan Warriors. Now then, if you missed the start of the beginning of the end of the world, catch up with Sky One's brand new comedy drama, You, Me and the Apocalypse. It stars Matthew Bainton, Rob Lowe and Pauline Quirk. The first episode is available on demand right now. Here at the DW Stadium, the home of the Wigan Warriors. Wigan are 40 minutes away from a third grand final in a row. They lead the Huddersfield Giants 12 points to 2, and it's going to be the Huddersfield Giants who get the second half underway, courtesy of the boot of Danny Brough. I don't know what was said in the change rooms at half-time, but I would imagine Paul Anderson's half-term report would have been, Steve-O, we can do better.
Without a doubt, and you know, they've got to get through to the basics, and they let themselves down, far too many errors. And in the opening 15 minutes, you could see that Wigan just completely cut them apart. The defensive pattern was all over the shop, and I'm sure that Anderson would have said, we've got to be a little bit more smarter with the ball, if not trying to offload under pressure. But Wigan, we're pretty happy with a 10-point lead.
Well, they will be happy with a 10-point lead. Maybe Huddersfield are reasonably happy that the gap is not more than 10 points. We'll see in a moment, because I'm sure that Terry O'Connor, who is our sideline eye tonight, will be reporting to us in a few moments' time.
Another good kick and chase there, especially from Sam Powell. There's Sean Wayne, you know, he brings the likes of Powell onto the field of play, and is an energetic player, both in attack and defence. I suppose Paul Anderson will be looking for the combination that has been so successful this year in the halfbacks, Danny Brough and Jamie Ellis, but they just really have not had the platform to build on.
And when big men like Ukumatai are stopped dead in their tracks by three Wigan defenders, that just shows how much on top they are in that particular department. But here goes Brough, who finds Grix, and now it's Jake Connor again. They've reached the fifth tackle, though, have the Giants, so here comes the last. Expect the kick high, which it does, off the boot of Brough. And who wants this? I'll tell you who wants it. Joe Burgess, that's who.
Well, he applied the pressure, and the winger, Burgess, there was only one person going to take that. Boy, they look confident, don't they? Beautiful take.
Lee Mossop trying to break through Bailey, Crabtree and Jack Hughes. Powell asks the referee to let Wigan get on with it, which they do. Here's George Williams. Williams then to Farrell. Quick hands from him. Oh, what a shrug away from Oliver Gildart, and Jamie Ellis was just brushed off then like a nuisance fly. Williams again into centre field. Finds O'Loughlin. Now Smith. And here comes Joel Tompkins again.
Pretty good play as well by Matty Smith. Normally you'd find Matty Smith in the first or second receiver, but he's playing out wide.
His
kick, the best kick.
All along the ground, finds the boot of Jermaine McGilvery, and then four Wigan defenders find Super League's top try scorer of 2015.
Certainly bossing things, aren't they, Wigan, in the defensive patterns. The Giants finding it very, very difficult to get, not even on the advantage line, but make a clean break. Very rare at all.
Crabtree tucks the ball under his right arm. Doesn't make any further progress forward, though, because of the attentions of the defence. This is Brett Ferris. Ferris one-handed, then transfers the ball, gets it away to Cudjoe. Out the back finds Jack Hughes. Hughes then to Jamie Ellis. Can't get away from this smothering Wigan defensive effort.
Yeah, you can see there that you know, Chris Bailey has gone into the half-back position, but they need a little bit more sparkle at the play the ball area. You know, we haven't seen one run. We saw only two from Luke Robinson in that first half. You've got to test the first and second markers. High kick from Brough.
Oh, it is high. It's above the stands here, but it's claimed by Bowen. There was no challenge from Huddersfield whatsoever for that.
He's hurt himself. He was absolutely smashed to the ground by Danny Brough. The timing by Brough was perfect. As soon as he hit the deck, and
like a Cumberland throw, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah. He's hurt as a fullback, Bowen. That is the best way to wind yourself.
And those sort of tackles are fine, providing he keeps hold of the player. You can't just throw him over, you've got to keep in contact.
Well, I think he did. Danny Brough, and here comes Burgess.
Well, that's one thing that Paul Anderson, the Giants coach, would have said half-time. Look, we have to be a little bit tougher. We have to be a bit more aggressive.
OK, let's get to Terry O'Connor on sideline for the half-time news. Terence?
Eddie, talked with a couple of the lads when they were coming out of the Wigan changing room, and they looked really focused. The message from Sean Wayne is keep it simple, don't turn over cheap ball. We give them 9 extra sets through our mistakes in that first half. We're in front on the scoreboard, let's get to that grand final. And Paul Anderson, well, he come out of the changing rooms with a bit of a snarl on his face, said that the season rests on the opening 10 minutes of this second half. He knows his side needs points, but they also need to play with some energy. And what he wants from his big men is to work very hard in defence when the ball goes away from him. Concede nothing in the opening 10 minutes. We give ourselves a big shot of getting to the grand final, and we've got 40 minutes to save the season. That was nice and simple.
Sean Wayne not happy. It wasn't the best pass by Matty Bowen. Offloaded without looking to see who was out wide. There was no chance for John Bateman to get to it. Golden opportunity now for the Giants. You know, at times like this, when it's been a stuttering start to the game by Huddersfield, This is where you may put on what we call a little bit more aggression. A little bit of a handbags, perhaps. Just unsettle the opposition. Can they do that?
Crabtree can't get beyond Tony Clubb's tackle. Here is Ferris. And Ellis, it came off for him. This is Danny Brough, and he finds Jake Connor, who cuts back inside. Jake Connor.
Quick play, the ball is what's needed. Chris Bailey's in the dummy half, and they got the penalty.
Well, he shouted move, and the Wigan players didn't. So the penalty had to come.
Well, you could see there that Tony Clubb had the arm underneath. Interference.
To be fair, that's not much use to Huddersfield, because the Wigan defence now is completely marshalled.
One movement! Winning by Sean Waite. Wait!
Ferris to his feet. Slow play the balls for Huddersfield. Wigan are dictating the pace of the run.
Yeah, and you can see they're trying desperately to turn him on the back, the big fella, Crabtree. But look, they're not even aggressive. They don't even want to get on with the game.
Ferris, can he be aggressive? He's over the line.
Farrell's got underneath him. Tremendous work by the second row, Liam Farrell. Well, it's a better start by the Giants, and they know it. Can they get that scoreboard ticking more than the 2 points they already have?
Ellis to Brough. Brough then a short ball from him, but there was a reception committee waiting for Joe Wardle. He disentangles himself, he plays the ball. Here is Crabtree, back it comes to Brough. Now it's with Ellis, and Ellis over the top, finds Cudjoe. Cudjoe then to McGilvray. Oh, he's just forced into touch by sensational Wigan defence again.
Was it ever? Burgess just hit the arm shot out, and it touched the corner post. Watch this. Maybe just having to juggle the ball. Nowhere near getting it down on the whitewash. He knows it's close.
Well, Steve-O, Joe Burgess, he gets over his winger. So we see Paul Anderson. Here's the no try. They almost get over the line. And it's great work from Wigan on goal line defence. The second challenge that they had through Jermaine McGilvray. Not only did he get contact, then he got his hips in and he pushed him over the sideline, Joe Burgess.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, Eddie, but just a little fumble, the split second perhaps allowed the Wigan defence to get over into that far corner, but it'll lift the spirits of the Giants because they were very poor in the first stanza.
Oh, but they're offside at the play the ball.
Basics. They are letting themselves down yet again. There was 4 or 5 who'd gone in for. All they have to do is just have a little glimpse. When it's in the zone, you can't miss Ben Thaler. He's in canary yellow.
Well, it's a massive task for Huddersfield, this, even if it was all square at this stage, because Wigan have got a 100% home record that they're defending here tonight, as well as trying to get to Old Trafford. 100% at home for the first time in Super League in 2015. They went through 96, 2001, 2004 unbeaten, but they drew matches in those seasons. They have not had their colours lowered here. They've not let anyone take any points away from the DW Stadium this year. Of course, they lost in the World Club Series, but they weren't alone in that, were they? This is Powell, and Powell to O'Loughlin. Williams, good ball. Farrell. Down he goes under the challenge from Jack Hughes. Wigan have gone into the opposition's 20-metre zone. Again, Powell steps over Jack Hughes. O'Loughlin. Smith. Quick hands. Flicked on to Manfredi. He slipped, but he still gets there. Does Dominic Manfredi. And he gets the try. 10 minutes into the second half. And Wigan are on their way back to Old Trafford, and Billy Boston, one of the legends of this club, watching on. Wigan could be on their way to Old Trafford for the 3rd year in a row.
He would have enjoyed that. The big fella, Billy Boston, as a winger, Dom Manfredi. Talk about making your name for yourself over the past couple of weeks. Just simple, basic. And the dummy runner through quick hands. Bateman just guided it away. He slipped, but still had the wherewithal and the strength and the force to get over. Watch a little flick from Bateman. Ah, tremendous. It was dipping down. He got it. He should have been stopped.
Tremendous try and appreciation from one of the greatest wingers ever to grace this game, Billy Boston, for the effort of Dom Manfredi, his 21st try of the campaign. Give him the key of the door, Dom Manfredi. Give him the key of the door to Old Trafford, maybe.
Yeah, the memory bank would have been going and flowing right the way through Billy Boston's mind there, because he was a man that scored many, many great tries, but he would have appreciated that. And what a time to do it. At the moment where Huddersfield looked as though they were going to get back into this game, they went close, they were held up, couldn't get the ball down in the end, and they have responded in the best possible manner.
So they're 16-2 ahead in this, the 14th must-win grand final qualifier. 6 wins, 7 defeats in the 13 previously played. At home they've won 4 of 5. Bowen has banged it through over the crossbar. 18 points to 2. The Wigan Warriors, big hill for Huddersfield now.
Well, the beginning of this try is all about precision and accuracy, and then when John Bateman tips it into the path of Dom Manfredi, it's all about power and determination, and the big winger has done that all year. He's shaping to go in the corner, steps off his left foot, pirouettes, goes back against the grain. He still has an awful lot to do. It was an outstanding finish from that young man.
Well, when the winger Manfredi slipped, it looked as though that the Huddersfield defence had it all covered, but the determination there, Dom Manfredi, was outstanding.
Consistent side, Huddersfield, though, the 7th year in a row that they have contested a playoff series. They've never got to Old Trafford within a sniff of the big prize. This was a night when they arrived full of hope. But Wigan's defence has been magnificent, and when they've had the chance up the other end, their attack has been too good for their opposite numbers. This is Lee Mossop.
Well, we often talk about the forwards laying the platform, making sure that the quality players, and Wigan have got plenty of those. Not the best from Matty Smith, good position there by Scott Grigg, but look at the chase and the defence. It's tremendous.
Look at the way they close the options down for the man who receives the kick.
The disappointing thing for coach Paul Anderson is the way that his Giants they've lost the ball.
Oh, it's been stolen. This is a big call by Ben Thaler, and it's a grateful call for Huddersfield.
Yeah, they need it. But the point that I was making is that you've got to make sure that you're energetic, not only in defence, but when you've got the ball. And they look a little bit stunned, as far as shell-shocked, as far as I'm concerned. He is.
Had to lift his players after last week's bitter disappointment.
Fine, boys. Lee, get the hand out that rope, Liam. Come on. Go.
Here comes Cudjoe now.
One, move, Liam! Ready, Sean, don't go early.
13 times an England
Tidy up,
international,
boys.
Leroy Cudjoe. Ukuma Tai, the Tongan.
2, move! Okay, Liam. Liam.
They're doing a brilliant job in slowing the Huddersfield play the ball down. I mean, there'll be Huddersfield fans who'll be saying, is it legal what they're doing? But the referee is in complete agreement that it is.
Yeah, but the Giants are submitting so easy.
Move, Lee!
See there, he wanted to get on with that, and Lee Mossop held on to him vitally. And Brough holds on and finds a little bit of space. There's not much movement round him. Jack Hughes offers an option, goes without the ball. Here goes Joe Burgess. Look out. Burgess is pulled down by Michael Lawrence.
And that was good play by Burgess. He could have tried for glory on the outside, but he knows a quick play of the ball.
Forward though, 3 against 2 wide. Smith with the chip over, looking for Manfredi. The bounce is kind. The bounce is even kinder. And Bateman scores.
He got a fingertip on it. Whether he's got full downward pressure, I'm not right sure. But this could be a brace for Bateman.
Try. Check up there.
They've got a try on the field.
No, can't do it. Not to get that check up there.
Wonderful work by Burgess. Put them down on that left-hand side. He didn't want to go for glory. He knew that a quick play of the ball they would have the overlap on that right-hand side. The kick into the corner. I'm not so sure that Bateman is gone convinced. He's certainly got fingertip to it, but was there sufficient downward pressure?
Well, it didn't look like there was any problem at all from me. They're all onside from the kick. It all comes down to the grounding and what happens down in the in-goal area. I think there's a slight obstruction on the way through on the Wigan player, on Bateman there, but he scores the try. If he gets the grounding down, then there's no doubt as to whether it will be a penalty try, because a try is already scored.
I think they're looking for a possible push on Murphy, Stuart.
I don't think there's anything there at all, and Murphy's down on the ground. It's that there, that's the foul play. It's on Bateman, but does Bateman manage to score anyway?
Is it a trip, Stuart?
Well, it's certainly a trip, but it all comes down to whether a try is scored. You can't give a penalty try if it's already been scored. Penalty try is only... Well, they're looking there at the collision. I don't think there's anything wrong there. Murphy's making a move towards the ball. Ball comes free. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. It's a clear trip on Bateman, but does it prevent him from scoring a try? That's what we need to find out. If he gets his hand on the ball... Oh, I think he's missed it.
So will it be a penalty try then?
Is there a case? There is a case now for a penalty try, and that's what they need to look at. The ball isn't grounded there, looking at it. It comes down the side. He's knocked on. So that's the end of that. So we have to go back to see whether it's a penalty try. I think it's a clear trip.
If there's a penalty against Manfredi for the push on Murphy. No,
well, I can't see anything wrong with that. Murphy's competing for the ball. Manfredi's competing for the ball. I don't think there's any issue there.
Well, they're not that convinced they're having yet another look.
I think Manfredi just pushes him. I don't think he pushes
any contact.
I don't think. Well, I think he might have just touched the shirt, but I'm going to go for a penalty try, and these are rare. It's as rare as my hair.
Well, Bateman at that point is through. And he's going after the ball. Now that is a clear trip. Stops him getting a clear shot at the ball. Obviously his balance has gone. Had he not been tripped, you've got to think he's going to score that try. I think this will be a penalty try under the post. I can't see anything else that the video referees can give.
Well, it's a big call, because if Wigan are given the green light, it's a massive step towards Old Trafford, and that's why they're taking so much time.
But if it's not a trip, it's a clear block on the man going through. It's foul play stopping him getting to the ball. You know, he would have been on his feet otherwise, going towards the ball and had more control.
So here we go. The decision is a try, and it's a penalty try because the referee has gone underneath the sticks. He didn't ground it, John Bateman, but he was tripped in the act of scoring a try, and the video referees are convinced that had the trip not come in, that he would have scored.
They've got it spot on. And Scott Griggs is fully aware of it. He's just qualifying with the official Ben Taylor. But
is that a sin bin there, Mike?
No, he said because it's been awarded a penalty try, the sin bin doesn't come into it.
Time's off. Oh, come here, please. Bring Danny Brough with you. Come with Danny Brough.
But it just shows you the quick thinking from Burgess, who made the break.
I'll do it halfway, lad.
Fantastic play.
All right, let's get it going, Matt.
He's asked referee Ben Taylor for Earl Crabtree to bring Danny Brough towards him, because when the decision was made, the ball ricocheted off the advertising hoardings. Now, I'm not saying for a moment that somebody aimed to kick the ball at the referee, but maybe in frustration, the referee saw something that he's not terribly happy with.
Johnny.
He's asked Earl Crabtree to bring Danny Brough to him, and I think he's now saying that he's going to have a word after the kick is taken. I think.
Back on. Yeah.
Is it dissent?
No, I'm going to have a word with him.
That he wants a word. You keep hearing, if you've got the referee in your speakers, you can hear him saying, "I'm going to have a word. I'm going to have a word." So someone's talked to him in his ear. And Matty Bowen here to make it 24 points to 2 after a quarter of an hour of this second half. You can't see Huddersfield coming back at this particular point in time.
That was a run by Burgess, and you can see, look at the Giants' defence. It's all over, they're struggling. You can see there that Murphy had to go in because he knew they had the numbers. Bateman didn't get to it in the end, but the trip from Scroggriggs.
I don't need that after. You're throwing the ball and that's already said. Sort it all out and calm down. Back on again. Back on it. The clock's back on. Time's off, Colin. Stopped.
Well, obviously, somebody saw something and they've given the report. This is when the try is awarded. Danny Brough has got the ball in his hand. And he throws the ball not at the referee, but near to the referee.
Wait here, guys. Wait
Dissent.
Here, mate. Come away here. Wait, boys, wait.
Yeah.
Good.
Dissent, nothing more.
You're right, near to the referee.
So,
at the end of the game, we'll see lots of tries, remember that. For me, the turning point in this game, even though Wigan were ahead, was when Liam Farrell was able to prevent Brett Ferris from scoring. It was an amazing tackle. It might not have helped Huddersfield to win this game, but it would have made it a little closer, far more interesting. To hold out and prevent that try, amazing. Wigan, our records, have made 200 tackles in this match and missed just 3.
Well, that says a lot, doesn't it? That's a good hit by Ruku Matai, though. Well, Huddersfield now have got, 23.5 minutes to try and rescue their season.
And it's going to be very difficult the way that this man is controlling things. He'll take charge of the kick, put himself on that short blind-sided Matty Smith. He's got the experience. He knows what it's all about in high-pressure games. He knows that the scoreboard is in their favour, and it's all a matter of just turning these Giants around. Well, you can see quite a few of them a little bit subdued, shoulders down, heads are going down even further. And the big question, as we have done for quite some time, Eddie, that when it comes to the big games, the Giants don't live up to their name.
Well, they've come up against a very determined Wigan side tonight. And at this moment, well, as I say, 23 minutes to go, unless Huddersfield have got something very special. We're heading for either a repeat of 2014, Wigan Saints, or a repeat of the very first grand final between Leeds and Wigan, because tomorrow those two will sort their differences out. Leeds Rhinos and Saints, 7:30 Sky Sports 1, the second semi-final. The first rematch is on the cards between Leeds and Wigan right now since 1998. Never met there since, but of course Wigan Saints last year, with all the drama, the tension and everything else that went into that night, it could all be repeated and reprised a week on Saturday at Old Trafford.
Yeah, and the prop forward Ben Flower will be very, very pleased with the fact that he can atone himself in the grand final. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that it's going to be the Warriors that are going through Old Trafford.
Wasn't he good in the opening 20 minutes here tonight, Ben Flower? Scored that try, tremendous.
Yeah, he had a point to prove.
And he's had a great, since he's come back after the 11-match ban, Ben Flower has had a great season.
And he's stuck with his character. His coach has demanded that he's very physical. You see him take the ball forward here, lands on his front. He's in a perfect position to play that ball, and he's kept his character. He knows he's very much a player that plays the physical side of the game. He's tough and uncompromising, and in that moment of madness, he let his team down, and I'm sure he'd love to get back there and make amends.
Well, that was the tone, apparently, of his speech in the Wigan dressing room yesterday when the players were called in. And at this moment, as I say, it looks like Wigan are on their way back to Old Trafford for the third season in a row.
Well, Huddersfield, all they can do now is play with a little bit of pride. Let's hope they can get over the whitewash, but the way this Wigan defence has been solid, it's not going to be easy. Nice pass, but again, the man-on-man marking by Wigan has been brilliant tonight.
Ellis, long pass to Brough, further long to Wardle. Wardle down the line looking for Murphy. And he's done well there as Murphy. He's pushed him all along the ground.
Yeah, drop well back, Manfredi.
The tackle not completed, Stuart, as soon as he puts his hand on him.
It is, but the momentum stops, and then the position of the tackle is complete. So as long as he keeps going, it's different than actually trying to pick him up and push him back. If he keeps him on the floor as he did then that's okay.
And it would be drop out then. And it would be the same, Stuart, at the other end if you're going over for the try as well.
Absolutely, the sliding try. It doesn't matter where you start, it's where you end up.
You know, Huddersfield arrived here with not too bad a record on this ground. Prior to the heavy defeat in the playoffs 12 months ago, they'd won 3 in a row here, and 6 of the previous 7. So they did arrive knowing how to get the job done, but it's a big difference between knowing how and producing on the big night, on the big stage.
Eddie, the forwards were outplayed, out-muscled. Wigan were up to it down the middle. And I'm afraid the Giants weren't. They just really did not set any platform. But again, this disciplined defence by Wigan. Very rare have we seen any Wigan player come out of the line. They've just stuck with the man-on-man. Look at that. He's yours, he's yours. Great defence.
Hubie goes down. Quick play, the ball was needed. Robinson, here is Brough. Brough then to Ellis. Ellis to the in-goal, looking for McGilvray, but it's diffused by Burgess. It's a goal line dropout. We're committing the cardinal commentator's sin here. We're writing a team off with 19.5 minutes to go.
Absolutely, we're in the final quarter, and if Huddersfield continue along this vein, that's the second goal line dropout that they've forced. Paul Anderson knows his side have been outplayed for 3/4 of the game, but for 73 minutes last week they were the best team on the pitch. And the other team, well, we all know what happened there.
Yes, the last hour will all be forgotten if Huddersfield come back and win this miraculously. That ball from the goal line dropout hit the ground and it just spun away from a couple of players. It allowed Wigan to race forward. Hubie. I know that Sean Wayne is very intent on getting his defence right, and I think he will be delighted with this. He won't be happy with that, hands in at the ruck, but he'll be delighted with the defensive display from his team tonight.
At least we saw a little bit of aggression there by the Giants. They needed more of that, especially in the opening 10 minutes. A bit late in the day to be showing off on that.
Cudjoe. As they receive the ball, Huddersfield, they are surrounded by cherry and white jerseys. Robinson. Ellis. Gets the ball away. Lawrence. Again, Wigan's defence says they shall not pass. Ellis. Brough. Not the best. Manfredi was away for a moment. 0 this. This is a free play. Bateman.
Well, that combination of right wing, right centre, Bateman and Manfredi, what form they're in. It almost appears as though they played 5 seasons together. They look so comfortable with one another out there on the right, but Wigan come down to the left.
With Burgess again. What a farewell for him. He's off to the NRL at the end of the season, and at the moment it looks like the season is going to end at the Theatre of Dreams. Williams.
And isn't it amazing?
Oh.
He really struggled early in the piece, didn't he, Joe Burgess? But in the latter part of the season, he really has come back to top form.
And Williams as well. I mean, he's been in sensational form all year. Isn't it great to see an English number 6?
My word. And he's quite happy to just be able to, along with Matty Smith, just to be the distributor. Because he knows that the forwards have just been far too strong for the opposition.
Bowen is collared by Cudjoe. McIlorum asking for 6 to go from the referee, not forthcoming. Smith is here again. To jinx inside Craig Hubie. McIlorum, this is the last. Bowen, he's backed himself as Matty Bowen. This is going to stand in the in-goal area. It's all over the shot.
Dearie me, not the best effort by Scott Greig's got the boot to it in the end.
Bowen's down again.
So dangerous, Matty Bowen.
Has Matty Bowen been taken out?
That's what he's asked him to look at. He thinks it's a penalty in back play when Bowen comes through.
Oh, he is, without a question.
Yeah, that's fairly obvious.
No doubt about it.
He's clearly going to cross him and take him out as a penalty.
Take two.
Yeah.
Nick Atwood.
Stand, boys. Clear.
Take two, take the pace out of the game. Leave Huddersfield at the back of the sticks. In big games like this, and you're behind on the scoreboard, when there's a stoppage in play, you suddenly then become aware of the scoreboard, the clock ticking away, your mood changes, how desperate you become changes. It's a smart move to take the 2 points when they're on offer.
Yeah, well, it'll each up at least a minute. The official Ben Taylor will stop the clock, but you can see the frustration on the faces there. Wardle and Danny Brough, they know they've been completely outplayed tonight. Wigan, of course, started favourites. They playing on their home ground,
where they haven't been beaten all year, apart from in the World Club Series. And Sean Wayne, in his 4th year, top of the table in the 1st year, 2nd, 3rd and 4th year, providing it all goes according to the plan that we think it will over the next 16 minutes. Back at Old Trafford for the 3rd year in a row, not a bad record.
No, I think one player they need to thank in that first half was Sean O'Loughlin. You know, there are a few players in the league can do what he does, which is run at the defence, twist and turn and pass the ball to his teammates, holding defenders in the middle and creating the space for the players out wide. He does it remarkably well. He tackles probably as hard and as strong as any other player in the competition, if not harder. And he was superb in the first quarter.
And Matty Bowen makes no mistake. It's 26 points to 2. And you feel desperately disappointed for those people who have come to Wigan to support the Giants because they believed that this was to be their year. They're still in decent spirits.
It's been a tough night if you're a Huddersfield Giants fan, but I agree with you, Phil. I think Sean O'Loughlin really set the tone, but a player, as we go for a short kick-off. Huddersfield get the ball back. It's Jack Hughes. I think a player we've overlooked is that man, the number 9, Mickey McLaurin. He's the first off the line. Very physical, as we see a bit of the dropsies from the Giants.
Now, here comes Brett Ferris. Well, will they go back? Will they go back? Was that the 0 tackle? Not a free play, no? No head and feet to Wigan.
No, they got over the advantage, didn't it? Not the best kick there by Ferris.
I suppose that's because it's a play rather than a mistake.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Well, everything they've tried, I'm afraid, the Giants, it has not come off for them. They've been lacklustre. But the basic errors, it turning into a nightmare for the coach, Paul Anderson.
Well, the season started with a 19-0 defeat by Hull in the opening round. Is it going to end here tonight, 1st of October, with obviously not a nil against their name, but they will not have scored a try unless they get over in the next quarter of an hour, which will be of some concern, I'm sure.
And that's what the message will be from Sean Wayne. You say, listen, we keep that line intact. It's a whole new ball game. They know they're on the way to Old Trafford. That's a knock on.
Knock on by Matty Smith.
They'll get the opportunity now with Huddersfield, and maybe we'll see.
Sean Wayne will not want them to go slack and loose in the last quarter of an hour here.
No, but the main thing he'll say, do not let the opposition score. This is where we put our defence. It's been absolutely brilliant tonight. Man-on-man marking. The conversation that all the team have in a Wigan jumper tonight has been superb.
Steve, you mentioned the word discipline. They've been disciplined in how they've played this game, and I'm not talking about not giving penalties away. I'm talking about sticking to a game plan. That slugfest that I talked about, very effective basic rugby league where you're just pumping it forward, getting up the other end of the pitch, then testing and challenging defenders.
Ferris thought he was on his way there. Don Crosby had other ideas. This now is Hubie. And here is Jamie Ellis. Oh, Jamie Ellis went down then. Was there an injury then? No, he gets himself to his feet all right. Robinson, short ball of Kumatai. Kumatai going nowhere then. Robinson again. Brough. Oh, hello. They're over. It's Brett Ferris. Brett Ferris has scored the try for Huddersfield. Here comes the comeback, Huddersfield.
Well, for the first time, they've run on the angle, and Ferris, this is good work. Watch how Ferris comes on that angle instead of running outside of it. And he utilised the post, Pat, very, very well indeed. But it all came about by that angle run. Brough will get on with it.
Adds the extras, 26 points to 8. Now then, another quick try, and who knows?
And all he's done is run hard. There's no deception. 2 passes involved, and Danny Brough, with good decision making, he knows and understands who's at the advantage, and it's the man running hard into the space. And you can guess from the reaction and the body language of Ferris, he knows that they've not given themselves a chance in this game, the Giants.
It's amazing, and it does amaze me that not a lot of teams utilise those big covers round the post, because that certainly helped.
But he's upset about something, Sean Wayne, and as I said earlier, I don't think he'll want Wigan to just take the foot off the throat here.
Yeah, well, he's unhappy about that. But I mean, Matty Smith couldn't get to him, mainly because he ran into the post protectors. Now then, as this poked a stick in the Wigan's eye, we'll have to wait and see. But at least a little bit of pride has come back to the Giants jumper. Finally got that try that has been so elusive tonight.
They are 11 3/4 minutes away from Old Trafford, Wigan. Or are we going to see the comeback of comebacks from Huddersfield? It hasn't been in evidence so far, and with defence like that, it isn't going to happen.
And it's a time they know they can't win this game, Eddie. So it's the likes of Danny Brough will do a little chip over the top, or he wants to show that he's still got that wonderful skill, but they've just been outplayed.
Brough finds Ellis, finds the try scorer. Goes wide to Wardle, and here comes Murphy. He's got Manfredi in front of him.
Better go down quickly.
Referee shouts held before he's forced over the whitewash. Wardle and Brough. There's the chip through. Bowen is back. Bowen is safe.
Yeah, good position by Bowen.
Low central gravity and had to get down quickly.
And it was obvious that Danny Brough was going to try something that maybe they should have tried early in the game rather than late, when it was a forlorn hope. And this will be just hard work now by the Wigan forwards. And then Matty Smith will come to the fore and say, let's get out of here.
Move, Craig!
It's been like a well-oiled machine, Wigan tonight. And all the cogs and all the parts have played very well indeed.
Smith all down the line, just taking the sting out of the opposition. Finds touch.
Simple, but effective.
Got to admire Huddersfield as that ball rolls over the sideline here. This game's over. But yet they haven't given it in. They ran to the scrum. They've tried to stop the clock. There's 10 minutes left. Effectively, they'd have to score too many tries too quickly. It's impossible for them to get out of it. They haven't given up, and that's got to be a little bit of hope for them for next season. You know, they're getting closer. It keeps happening, doesn't it? This is now 12 over the last 6 years. They've been in 12 games, being the cup and the playoffs, a chance of getting to or winning a grand final. They've not got to one yet, but it must be the way they're building year after year. They're consistently a strong side in the league. But they need to find that missing mental edge.
Well, so many elementary errors. On forward paths, trying to force the offload.
Hold good.
You're right, Phil. I mean, they've entertained us royally throughout the season, but I'm afraid when it comes to crunch time, they crumble.
Robinson did well then. He reacted quickly to get to that loose ball that was stripped from the grasp of Danny Brough. This is Craig Hubie. Ken Davey, the Huddersfield chairman, 20 years as the boss at the Giants, and another disappointment for him. There's a flag actually on the terrace behind the post that Wigan are attacking that's populated. There it is. I don't think I've ever seen a club flag with a chairman's image on in the past. I can't think of one anyway. He's very popular chairman at the Huddersfield Giants.
And fully deserved.
Ken Davey, absolutely.
Fully deserved.
Here's Leroy Cudjoe.
But the chairman will be disappointed, but the players will be more disappointed because they know they can play better than this. I'm taking nothing away from the defensive quality of Wigan tonight, but they've been their own worst enemy, I'm afraid, of Huddersfield this evening.
Well, they started slowly, didn't they? They were on the back foot really from the minute one.
Yeah.
Burgess hangs on, all around his neck.
Right here, boys. Craig, right here. Hold it,
That's
boys.
one of the major reasons, Eddie, why Wigan will be going for their third consecutive grand final.
And this is a funny place to be if you're a Wigan player. There's 8 or so minutes left in this game. You want to make sure that you book your place in the team for next week whilst not injuring yourself. And you know, if you go into any collision, any tackle, any carry, half-hearted, there's a good chance you may well get injured. I'm sure the Wigan players, they're just desperate for that final hooter as well.
And let's not forget that Wigan will be even stronger next week in grand final week, because Tolima Tautai completes his suspension tonight. So if he needs a bit more grunt up front, Sean Wayne, he's got it.
That was forward.
And it was a knock-on anyway by Burgess.
And I suppose at 26 points to 8, say to yourself, well, we'll try to get away with it, but it was just forward. He knocked on, couldn't take it. Can they finish with a bit of a flourish? And
haven't Wigan kept the leading try scorer in Super League?
Yeah, and
silent tonight.
I keep mentioning it, Eddie, because they haven't utilised the sliding defence Wigan at all. It's been man and man. Normally they'll slide midfield, but when it gets close to the line, they go man and man. But they've virtually done man and man through the entire game, and it's completely confused Huddersfield. I've never seen Danny Brough and Jamie Ellis snuffed out efficiently as much as tonight.
You can't go forward, Mike, you'd remember for your days. If the guys in the middle can't take the team forward, like Huddersfield at the moment, it's static. They're going left and right, but they're not going towards the opposition goal post. And in either quarter of rugby, you've got to go forward to have any chance of winning.
A nice stab through, off the fingertips of Griggs. Here goes Bowen. Last appearance for Bowen at this ground. Final home game of the season for Bowen and the Wigan Warriors, of course. Destination next, Old Trafford. I think we can safely say that now, with a 22-point lead with less than, or just less than 6 minutes to go. He lost a grand final in the NRL with North Queensland Cowboys, and he has lost a grand final here.
He certainly played his part as a fullback, Matty Bowen, but I've just been so impressed by Wigan. They've played as a team. This youngster, George Williams, well, he's lost lots of ball. I was just going to praise him, but
There's Sam Tompkins. He will be a very interested spectator at Old Trafford next week, getting a round of applause because he's appeared on the big screen. We'll be back here next year, of course.
He'll be looking forward to pulling on the cherry and white yet again.
Is it snowing where he's sat?
I think that's what you call fashion, Barry.
I know what fashion is, Eddie.
Really?
Yeah, he's got me confused as well, Eddie.
Old, new or middle age?
All of it.
He still wears flares.
I will tell the viewers at home, though, I asked a couple of weeks ago whether Steve owned a pair of jeans. He's since showed me those jeans, and they had a crease down the front.
It's called being posh.
And more than one crease at that, Steve-o.
Well, I'm not very good at ironing. Well, this is a disappointing end to the Giants, Eddie. To be fair, you know, they played their part in this season. And as you say, the players will be subdued. It's not their best performance.
This is Danny Brough with a high kick. High kick and pouched by Matty Bowen. I thought that... oh, here we go. Bowen in centre field. Well, he's allowed to make so much progress because no one would lay a hand on him. And I must confess, I did think Steve-o once upon a time had a laundry somewhere or other that he took his dirty washing to, but maybe I'm mistaken.
if you must know, I bought myself a washing machine and a dryer and a top quality iron. Is that it?
Wigan versus Leeds is the grand final we are waiting for. Saturday, October the 10th. That's a week on Saturday at 5 o'clock. We'll be there. Wigan will as well. Oof. And he grounded the ball the right side of the goal line, did Scott Griggs, but he took a chance.
Yeah, but what an intelligent kick from the second rower, Liam Farrell.
Here's a penalty to Huddersfield.
This has been a very, very good win by Wigan. Keep saying it about the well-oiled machine. Look at that defence.
They travelled with such hope, Huddersfield. Bateman gets the tackle in on Crabtree. They just haven't been able to get through this solid Wigan defence, apart from once. And it's been that sort of pass
sums it
on
up.
that sort of night.
It just sums it all up.
One of these days, this has got to change for Huddersfield. It's got to turn, surely. They've been knocking on the door, as I said earlier in the commentary, for 10 long years. They've got to break through sometime.
Well, one would hope so, but it depends on how thick the door is and whether you're just knocking or whether you want to kick it through. And I'm afraid the likes of Wigan, they have the habit of knowing, don't knock, just go straight through it, kick it, and that's what they've done tonight.
Wigan do have an advantage here. We often look at the coach to the side, but Wigan's advantage over most other teams is the schoolboy setup that this town's had, well, at least the last 50 years particularly. A guy like Dave Mallon, a teacher locally, they've organised Wigan schools rugby to be the best in the country more often than not, and that's obviously helped the first team because the players we're seeing here tonight, not all of them have come through there, but Wigan's ability to produce more young players than other towns does give them a competitive advantage over the rest.
Last 2 minutes of their home programme. For the first time in 2015, they are going to go through this home programme without having their coloured lowers, without having dropped a point in the domestic game.
And surely, Eddie, they'll go for the 2. Why not? Or are they going to... No, they're going to go for more glory. Well, the one thing we can guarantee, that it will be an English coach that will pick up the trophy this year. 2003, Ian Proctor informs me that Mike Gregory and Brian Noble were the last to contest a grand final. 2 British coaches. Well, we've got 4 in the semi-final.
And Steve, well, I'm even more pleased because it's going to be a front rower. It's either going to be a prop or a hooker.
That's right, and they keep saying that we've got no brains at all, Barry.
They're over with Tony Clubb for the last try of the night. The last try of 2015 on this ground. That just seals it.
Simple, a tired defence, just a simple pass, and what a way to wrap it up. Good work by the hooker Michael McAlorum, and then Clubb does his club a fine service. Yes, they've been so strong tonight, and a good hug, and why not? It was good work by the hooker McAlorum. Short pass, and Tony Clubb who's given good service since he came up from the south, settled in very well in the cherry and white.
I talked about Mickey Mack about 5 or 10 minutes ago. Some of the work he's done around dummy half, obviously defensively, sets that tone, but he's got fantastic rugby league IQ, as we see Matty Boyd just round off proceedings. He's played a big part in this victory.
He has, and Wigan are celebrating their 3rd grand final in as many years. That's what it means to this team. That's what it means to this club. And disappointment at the other end of the scale for the Huddersfield Giants. Danny Brough rallying the troops, saying, let's come back next year and go one step further. And look at the smile on the coach, Sean Wayne. Top in his first year, grand finals in the next 3. What a 4 years it's been. And the Wigan players, well, they're going to enjoy their night, they're going to enjoy their grand final, and Brett Ferris with a little resigned shake of the head, and their supporters at that end of the ground giving them a great round of applause for the season that they have had. So close to the League Leaders' Shield last week, it was nicked away from them really in the closing moments of that match. They played some great stuff, Huddersfield, but they've just come up short when the chips were down tonight. So it's Wigan against either Leeds or St Helens in the grand final a week on Saturday. That will either be a repeat of last year, Wigan Saints, or a repeat of the inaugural grand final from 1998 between Wigan and Leeds. They have never met at the Theatre of Dreams since that night. And well, job well done. Smiles of satisfaction all round for Wigan here tonight. Last playoff defeat, 2012, maybe significantly with what's to come in just over a week's time against the Leeds Rhinos, 13 points to 12. John Bateman is tonight's man of the match in association with Prostate Cancer UK, and he is talking to Terry O'Connor.
Well, John, back to Old Trafford, how does that feel?
It feels fantastic. I think, look at this tonight, look what we've done tonight, and I think we've got one more big 80 minutes to go on. That's it. I think we've got some runs to right from last year, to be honest with you, so it feels great, mate.
Talk to me about your defence that this club's got. You've been unbeaten at home all year. You turn up and you will score points. We all know you can score points, but what does it mean to be a good defensive side?
I think that's what we pride ourselves on, to be honest with you. When the drills into us, I think it's all right being good with the ball, but defence wins your games at the end of the day. Proven tonight and proven all year, like I said, we've been unbeaten, so great.
Talk to me about your position. You find yourself playing at centre. You played loose forward, you played back row, you played prop. Where do you prefer centre? You scored a try as well in this game.
Mate, I'll play whatever, to be honest with you. Whatever, when he puts me, I'll give me all. And I think that's what you look at all boys. I think a few boys have played all over this year, but look where he's got us. I think we all work hard together, and this is where we deserve to be. But one more big 80 minutes next week, mate.
And to win silverware, you've got to turn up and defend. Who do you fancy playing next week? Do you fancy playing Leeds? Do you fancy playing Saints?
To be honest with you, mate, I'll be watching tomorrow night and take whichever you pick at the end of the day, you know what I mean? So all best to them till tomorrow night, and we'll see him in grand final, whoever's there.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thank you.
We've got Danny Brough. It's always difficult, Danny. You've had a tremendous year. The last 3 years, you've finished third, haven't you, in the competition? You haven't quite managed it, but just sum up that game for us, please.
Yeah, I thought best team won at night. I thought we played too much side-to-side rugby. Playoff rugby is about kicking long, chasing hard and running as hard as you can. And we didn't do that. We're too side-to-side. Probably partly my fault as well, but, you know, same old, same old. Giants stumble at last block again.
Well, we all know you're a tremendous player. You play off a good go forward. You didn't seem to have that tonight, did you?
No, we didn't, and that's, you know, you can't expect your big fellas to go forward if you're sending them sideways. You know, and an aggressive defence like Wigan's got, kept taking us backwards, we kept losing position, can't kick up front foot. It's just a roll-on effect, and you know, it comes down to halves not being smart enough tonight, and I don't think we were.
Talk to me about the big effort that you put in last week when you played against Leeds. It was a monumental performance, wasn't it? Do you think that was your best game? Do you think that, because I was worried when you turned up here today whether you could come up with another performance like that?
No, I don't think it was his best game. I thought we were very sloppy in attack last week. We didn't run at the right areas against an opening defence. You know, we didn't hit as Leeds, and same again tonight, and we paid the price.
Thanks for your time, Danny.
Cheers, thank you.
And Sean Wayne, back to Old Trafford, third year in a row, eh?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the effort of the players, and you know, not only the players what play, but all of, you know, Anthony Gatling and people like that, and Josh and all of them what's worked hard in training to help us put performances on like that.
Come on, tell me what was going on upstairs, because the camera focused on you, conceded a try, and you looked as though you were absolutely fuming.
Yeah, because I thought we defended well, and I didn't want him, you know, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I didn't want them to score, and if it was the other way around, Paul would be the same. I was happy with our defence. We weren't actually that good with the ball today, believe it or not, and I thought, I know we can improve, and we're going to need to improve. There's two teams playing tomorrow, Leeds and St Helens, both very, very good teams, and we need to be better with the ball tomorrow, but I'm very happy with the win, Terry. It's, you know, I'm really pleased.
Talk to me about the grand final. Talk to me about what happens next week, and let the viewers in to know that how do you do it? How do you prepare for that big game, the final game of the year?
this was the big one. This was a big one to win, you know, because they're a very, very good team. They can defend Huddersfield. Next week, the atmosphere, all the press conferences, it looks after itself. The players at Old Trafford, you know, it's quite an easy week next week. We just know what we need to do. We stay in our process, the way with our systems, and we can win the game. As soon as we go away from it, we're under the pump. So it's real simple about what we do.
You didn't pick up any injuries today, did you?
No, everybody's buzzing. Everybody's really pleased, and you know the organisation's pleased. But we've got one more game to go. You know, going there and not winning is not good enough. So we want to go there and perform.
Thanks for your time, Wayne. Have you got any free tickets?
You've got loads of money anyway.
Cheers, Wayne. Blue, you're obviously disappointed not to be going to the grand final. I asked the question to Danny Brough. Do you think that game last week against Leeds took an awful lot out of you?
You could say so, yeah, but that'd be me finding an excuse. I just think today that Wigan were too good for us. We never got out of the blocks, we never got going, and Wigan are good. They're good for the scoreline.
Let's talk about where you were at the beginning of the year. You lost the first 3 games, then you lost 3 games over Easter. You must be happy that you give yourselves a chance to get to the grand final. You've done a tremendous job over the last 3 years, haven't you?
Yeah, we've done all right, but the fact is that all right's not good enough. I'm not happy with coming here and getting beat again, and it's There's no point me standing here and saying we're going to learn from it. We got bullied, I think, tonight, so it's time to roll our sleeves up in pre-season because we can't keep allowing that to happen.
So how do Huddersfield Giants win those final games, get into the big games and win that silverware?
I think actually starting well in the games will help us. I think we never give ourselves a chance today. Wigan were very, very strong. They were very, very determined. And when we did create opportunities, we started to run at sidelines rather than try lines.
Thanks for your time, Paul, and congratulations on a great season.
Cheers, mate.
Yes, he has had a great season. Huddersfield have done really well, but when it came to the big occasion tonight, they just fell short, and this lot are on their way back to Old Trafford for a 3rd year in a row. Look, we've got plenty more to come here after the match when John Wells will be talking to the Wigan skipper Sean O'Loughlin at the touchscreen, but I'd like to just point in the direction of Sky Sports News at 10, which is underway right now. They have all the very latest news of the UEFA controversy that is raging, and also the England and Wales squads for the 2016 Euro qualifiers. They have the latest news from the 2 camps there as well. I'm sure they will also be reflecting on this victory for the Wigan Warriors that takes them through to the 2015 Grand Final. Sean O'Loughlin's with John Wells next. Wigan are on their way. They are getting themselves ready for another Grand Final. And who will they face?